Okay, and welcome to the stream, everybody. My name is Green Zero, and this is the Kane's Wrath Extended Series Grand Final. I know we had to restart the stream there. We had a slight technical issue that's already been resolved, and the kickoff is happening in just over 15 minutes now, but we will be doing a little bit of a pre-show here, and joining me on the stream is going to be none other than Koryak. Welcome to the stream.
Happy to be here.
Excellent. So we've got everyone in the chat. Everyone says the issues have been resolved. If there are any audio issues, if anyone could please just drop those in the chat so we can address those as soon as possible. Let me have a look here. Looking pretty good. So Koryak, welcome to the stream. You're going to be co-casting with me, and we had this pre-show sort of pre-planned. Obviously, we've gone into it a little bit, but we don't really need that long. So welcome to the stream, and we're going to be going through some of these results now. First off, your take on the tournament so far.
It's been kind of surprising. For me, at least, this is the first time I've seen Tib-Z pop his way into a tournament. I'm sure he's been around for quite some time, but it was pretty exciting to see some of his games. He seems to be a little bit more of the wild card for this tournament. Not that he's made it directly this far into Bike Rush, but some of his plays against Master Leaf were pretty profound, I feel. And he definitely took Master Leaf by surprise with a handful of those rushes. They're a little bit sloppy, but he seems to have tightened up a bit here and there.
Yeah, definitely. Tipsy was the surprise, I think, in the tournament, because he did take June's spot at the very start of the tournament. June bailed out and Tips went in, and then Tips obviously caused a few upsets and then worked his way all the way through to the semi-finals. Actually in the third place playoff, and does bring me to another point. The third place playoff will probably be played at some point in time, but we're just not going to bother covering that. Those guys can sort of fight it out. Replays will be available, so we're just going to be focusing on the grand final today, and that's going to be the final stream. But yeah, BikeRushOwnz Futurama. Koryak, did you see the original series in the group stage?
Yes, I did cast a whole bunch of it. Granted, Cybert popped up his tournament at the exact same time. So honestly, it's all blurred into one. I have a good amount of coverage of the IES in edited videos on my end, and I've produced a lot of content of those beginning stages. But like I said, it's been a little bit. Some of the games were pretty intense. Some of them were a little one-sided, as sometimes happens in the tournament. I expected Cyberstorm to do a bit better, but unfortunately, he didn't do quite as good as I was hoping.
Yeah, Cyberstorm definitely was a little bit of a disappointment. I thought he'd be more competitive than he was. Not able to win a game. He did win some games, not like matches, some individual games. But we're just going to run through how the group stages sort of ended up. I've got them on the screen right now, but yeah, basically I should have the groups tables. Let's have a look at that. You've got a copy of the groups tables there, don't you, Koryak?
Yep, I got it open right now.
So this is the original group stages. So you had Group A, Group B. Bart Jones in Group A didn't drop a game. Now, he was obviously a big surprise as well, but you sort of can't help but feel that he got Drive, Shock, and Nash sort of, while they were pretty rusty, and maybe Bart Jones had been playing way more. Of course, when Bart Jones faced off against Futurama, he got pretty well demolished. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Group A there?
I definitely agree with you that there was a lot of rusty players. You could definitely tell it in plenty of Drive's game. It looked like he needed some caffeine in some of those, but I think he stepped it up later on. Would have been nice to see him progress further throughout the tournament, but he just didn't make it there in time. I don't think he was ready for the IES. If we take a look at the Kane's Wrath Extended Series, the bracket and the total scoreboard and everything that you sent me, it looks like Drive didn't do too bad for himself in Group A. Obviously, Bart Jones did quite well for himself. And Shock didn't do as bad as he could have. Once again, I feel like Shock was also maybe needed a little bit more practiced for this, and definitely so did Phoenix, I feel.
Yeah, Phoenix definitely should have done a lot better. I mean, he did train up for it, but only sort of towards the end of it. But it was too late, right? By that time, Bart Jones had solidified his position. Drive, while he was a bit rusty, just still managed to persist through sheer perseverance. But he did lose to Tipsy in the quarterfinals, so he went straight out. But yeah, definitely Bart Jones still happy, obviously, with that. And then Drive and Shock Trap it. They both went out in the quarterfinals. So Group A really didn't see much of a showing in terms of the top four. Only one player from Group A in the top four. But focusing now on Group B, which was considered to be the death group, you had Bike Rush, Master Leaf, and Futurama, three big players, and of course Senna is in there as well. He was a little bit disappointing when you look at the Group B results there. And again, Master Leaf, what do we have to say about Master Leaf? Terrible performance there, Koryak.
He definitely could have done a lot better. I know from watching his streams and from just listening to him back and forward that he's had a lot of IRL stuff to dive into, and he's been trying to keep the patch up to date as quickly as possible. So that's not allotted him enough time to practice, which is really a shame on my side. Master Leaf's one of my favorite players to watch just because of some of the wackiness he pulls out. And then amongst the wackiness, he's got some really solid strategies, I think, as we were talking about the other night as well. So I would have loved to see a better performance for him, but it's only what time allows, at least when it comes to Master Leaf.
Yeah, definitely. Just getting a few bits of feedback here. Looks like people are saying your mic is a little bit quiet, so I'm just going to turn you up a little bit, and hopefully that resolves that issue. Let's have a look here.
It can take me up a tiny bit on my end as well.
Oh, yeah. I think that's going to be a bit better.
How's that sound? Mic test. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, very clear on my end there. No problems at all. Let's have a look. I think the guys in the chat are saying it's not that they can't hear you. It's not that low. Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. We'll see what they have to say, but we'll continue on with this one so far. But yeah.
It's not that low. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think some people were saying maybe you had a bit of an edge. I turned you up about 10-15%, and I think now you've adjusted yours, so it should be fine. We'll keep a close eye on that chat. Already 66 people tuned in, and the kickoff time in 10 minutes. So let's go to the graphs. We'll go to the map graph. Do you have the map graph there?
Yep.
Now, just remember, this is match 25, so that means we've had 24 matches, and you can only pick a map once per series, right? So the most you can have a map at the moment would be 24 picks. Now, Odyssey has 19, which means there's only been 5 matches where Odyssey hasn't been picked, and then you've got Highlands and Rift as the other big guns in the map pool, and then from there, Toxicity through to Hampstead Gardens, maybe even Tournament Stadium. You could consider those the midship maps, and then below 10 you've got the lesser map. It sort of really drops off once you get to Tournament Stadium pretty quickly. What are your thoughts on that, Koryak?
I'm actually surprised we haven't seen more of Tiki Turmoil. I know it's not quite as popular as a map, but in doing a bunch of casts leading up to both the IES and the Chrono Clash, I did see a lot, and I mean a absolute crazy amount of Tiki Turmoil. So I thought that was going to be a note to where we'd see more of it in the IES, but we really didn't. People seem to be really happy with Tournament Odyssey, which of course is the consistent. There's no blue Tiberium in the center to fight over. No one really grabs the EMP control center in the center. So it really just turns into a straight-out fight, and the spacing's really even between the fields, between the players. So obviously that ends up being a bit favored. But I would have liked to have seen more Tiki Turmoil, but maybe that's just a little bit of bias on my end because I like the map. I think it's goofy.
Yeah, no, it's one of those maps where I was really shocked because it is actually a very popular map, right? And going in, I thought it was going to be one of the most picked maps, and it turns out very quickly it just completely fell apart. And 3 matches have picked Tiki Turmoil. Twilight City was also a bit disappointing. I know it's not a super popular map, but it's still, you expect to see it a bit more often. And I mean, Battle Base, we've had some really good games on it, but people just don't pick it. Winter Meltdown is mainly there because I had to say in picking the starting map for a couple of series, so it's not really being picked by players. So those bottom 4 maps are quite interesting, that especially Tiki Turmoil being right down there.
Mm-hmm. I would have also liked to see more Tournament Stadium. For me, that map's a little more nostalgic for me. because it's actually, I believe it's one of the first maps I ever cast. And I cast it a whole bunch in practice and whatnot, so it kind of wormed its way into my heart. I'm not as much of a competitive player, so maybe there's some elements that makes it less appealing. I like it because it seems to be one of those fast-paced maps. It doesn't always make it to the third Tiberium field, but still, I've seen some really, really great plays on that, especially from players like Futurama. I've seen Futurama on that particular map a lot, and I've seen him do a lot of his practices there too.
Yeah, it's really a map that whenever it's played, it just produces quality games, right? It's just one of those maps where it's pretty uncommon to see like a bad game on it. It's usually an entertaining game. It's usually a strategical game. It's just a good map. And I mean, this map has been around for over a decade, right? It's been redesigned a few times, so it's got a huge amount of history. But yeah, sitting at 11 picks. Will we see it again today? Only time will tell. We'll move on to the faction graphs now, so we'll do those next, if you've got those ones there, Koryak.
Yep, got them up.
So basically, we still, of course, have Reaper, which is a little bit broken thanks to Bike Rush. Only 2 Reaper picks the entire tournament, and that was Bike Rush, who won both sides. So we can pretty much ignore the Reaper stats and just go to the main stats. And the 2 factions which stand out, obviously, are Steel Talons and Traveler. They have a pretty good pick rate, and their win rate is significantly higher than that of the rest of the factions. If you look at Blackhand through even to Zocom, they're all 44 to 48. They're all super close in terms of their win rates. Of course, some factions are a bit more popular than others, but it clearly highlights that Steel Talons and Traveler, they just are performing a little bit better than the rest of the field. And yeah, it's a pretty even win rate, which also sort of reflects well on the patch, I think.
Well, I think a lot of these people, especially if they're rusty or weren't ready for the tournament, I think Steel Talons might be a decent pick. I know people don't like Titans quite as much, but I think if used correctly, they're great for choke point holds or stopping early rushes, because like 1 or 2 Titans can put in a lot of work if you play them right. And you don't necessarily have to maneuver them around. They're kind of like a beefier rocket squad, right? When you want a cheap defense, you can pump out a couple of rocket squads if you know like a rush is coming, and it can make a big difference. Well, Titans do the same thing there. And the Wolverines are just still really powerful. I think those are 2 really big impact for them, and I think they're just sitting quite nicely in the patch.
Yeah, I mean, the Titan is a very good early game unit, especially in closed maps and around buildings. Very hard to dislodge, very hard to destroy, and has a lot of health, but in the open, not that crash hot. In the late game, not that crash hot. The Mammoth Tank's heavier armor will completely displace it. But like you said with the Wolverines, they are a really good unit if used correctly, but you've got to know when to engage with them. If you engage with just 2 few of them, you're going to see them get wiped. And you got to remember, they're $900 each. They're expensive. Like, they're not super expensive, but they're expensive in comparison to other expendable units like Pitbulls and APCs. So I think Steel Talons is doing well because of how the late game is turning out. They do have probably by far the strongest late game almost out of any faction, especially the GDI. So if you do go to the late game, that's where Steel Talons is being the most successful, I think.
I could definitely see that. And Steel Talons is one of those factions that just sort of builds this slow rolling snowball, and then at some point it's just kind of hard to beat all of the armor that's coming your way because of all of the variety. Their units are pretty unique, and I think that's even increased more in this particular patch, because they've done well not only in the Chrono Clash, but they've also done well in the replays I've observed and other people's videos here and there, and they've been pretty consistent. So it doesn't really surprise me to see them coming out swinging here.
Yeah, it's definitely a surprise. I mean, it's probably due to the patch as well. But if we look at also Traveler 59, the fourth most picked faction, also with a very high win rate there. So again, in my opinion, Traveler's always been a high micro, high reward faction. They're quite strong if you have good control. And we know that the patch has patched out a lot of the lame screen stuff. So we're seeing, Traveler being played to a different degree than it used to. People aren't just going for the Hexapod. They're using all the Traveler units, and when used correctly, they're coming out ahead. They've got something for every part of the game. But yeah, I think Traveler's doing pretty well in terms of all the screens. Aside from Screen Vanilla, which Futurama just has a crazy win rate on, Traveler's doing quite well.
Yeah, and it's not really surprising. I know a couple of people. I think in one of the previous tournaments, you were you were upset with the shock troopers, if I remember correctly, too, because they were really powerful, and that seems to have a pretty good effect. And I think when the shock troopers are strong, it adds a really unique element to the faction and adds more microing. I think Master Leaf was saying that. That's one of those factions where if you know how to micro appropriately, it's going to be so difficult for you to lose. I don't think Kane's Wrath players in general are typically more micro oriented. But I do see a lot of players who favor, for example, Red Alert 3 come over, and I would like to see them play more of that since it's more micro intensive, and so is Red Alert 3.
Yeah, it's one of those things, right, where it is a micro-intensive faction, and you get rewarded for it. Just going to jump online now and get the room ready for the players because kickoff time is starting soon. We will have a look at the individual players' statistics as well as soon as the online decides to load for me. There we go. All right, are you online, Koryak?
I am.
Let me have a look here, see if I can log in at some stage.
You're online.
Yeah, there we go. It was a little bit slow, I was a bit concerned there, but it's all good. Let's have a look. Is BikeRush and Futurama here? BikeRush is here. Oh yes, Futurama is here as well. So both players are here. So we'll get a room going momentarily. There's actually two BikeRushes. BikeRushOwnz with the double O.
Actually, it's there's also Bike minus Rush plus Owns plus.
Yeah, no, that's the real BikeRush. I'm not sure why his region is different. But basically, if we have a look at that Excel file I sent out as well, it does have some more statistics on the players. And if you look at BikeRush, there are 4 factions he has a 100% win rate with. Gathered, he's only got 2 games on all of them except for Travel, which is 4. 4 games is Trav, 100% win rate. Mock, Nod, Reaper, 2 games each, 100% win rate. If you look at his primary faction, though, which is Blackhand, he's played more Blackhand than any other faction, 55% win rate. So BikeRush is losing on his primary faction. He's not doing that well. Even with Steel Talons, I guess he's okay. Whereas if you look at Futurama's primary faction is Blackhand, 73% win rate. So he has a notably higher win rate on his best faction. So has a 100% win rate with Zocom, 3 wins. So what do you make of those stats there, Koryak?
The only thing I wish I could see is who he fought with those Blackhand factions, right? Because BikeRush has got 9 and 5 wins for those. Because it may not necessarily be the faction itself. Maybe it's something more along the lines of who he was facing and when he was facing them. That could have a pretty big impact on it, because it's not like these players fought each other over and over, because the changing element is definitely going to be not only the factions, but definitely the players. And some of these players have really these varying degrees of tactics. Like Futurama is a good example. Futurama doesn't typically do a lot of rushing. He's got a couple of strategies that he really sticks to, and he just overall decides to be a solid player throughout everything. So I think that'll have an impact on the factions for sure. I don't think Blackhand is particularly weak, but maybe BikeRush is just not as prepared with Blackhand that he wants to be. I think this game will definitely show that one way or another.
Yeah, definitely. And moving now on to the last thing we're going to discuss, which is the map pool. We have 15 maps in the map pool. What do you think we're going to see from these players? Do you think they have a favorite map, or do you think there's anything in particular they're going to pick, or is it just going to be totally random?
I'm definitely thinking we're going to see there's almost no way we're not going to see Tournament Odyssey. There's absolutely no way we're not going to see that. So I think we got to keep an eye out for that one for sure. If I take a look at the rest of the maps, Toxicity's got a good chance of showing up, and it's a map that I've seen Futurama and BikeRush play a good amount. I hope that we're going to see some Tiki Turmoil from these two, because I think watching them on that map would be pretty fun. That's one of the ones I'm pretty excited about. Other than that, I think it could really go any direction. I think Bike Rush, if he can, he might avoid. Do we have Mountain Pass on here? Let's see.
No, it's not on there.
No, okay. So yeah, I was gonna say he's probably gonna avoid Mountain Pass, but that's not even on here.
Yeah, doesn't have to worry about the Mountain Pass. Thankfully, he's got nightmares of that for all of time. Let me just quickly message these guys to join. We're at 10:30, yep, or 10:30 my time, so that means it is kickoff time. I'm just messaging these guys to join. Make sure I'm not alt-tabbed because that will disrupt their ability to join. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see the map selection and the faction selection. It's just going to be juicy, right? It's like, what's going to happen? And of course, last time these guys fought, Futurama, I don't know how he lost that series. He was just playing so well and he was so far ahead, and then BikeRush just did BikeRush things and came back and took the lot.
Well, and that's one of the things about BikeRush is he's probably the most consistent Kane's Wrath player, even when he says he's quote-unquote rusty. Even if he makes a couple of mistakes early on, his consistency allows him those sort of gap closes when it comes to his mistakes overall. And so that really aids him in that. I think Futurama is more prone to critical mistakes, and we might see that here in this match. But I think if anyone can take on BikeRush, it's definitely going to be Futurama.
Yeah, I mean, I've said this from the start, like, these are the two strongest players, and we've seen Futurama defeat BikeRush in tournaments before. Obviously, BikeRush has the better record, but yeah, in their current condition, like, BikeRush has been playing a lot of Tempest Rising, Futurama has been pretty active here, so I just think it's going to be a close series. I can't see any one player dominating the other. I think we're definitely going to be trading wins here and there, and it's going to go down. I think we're probably looking at least 9 or 10 games, I think, would be the minimum. I just can't see anyone sweeping more than that particular score there.
Who knows? The games could be more lopsided than we think. I don't think they will be, because I feel like at this point, both BikeRush and Futurama are pretty warmed up with all the events and everything that have been going on, plus their games in the background. I do think that, looking at the maps again, I do think Winter Meltdown might be one of those ones that BikeRush doesn't favor, because I've seen a lot of his gameplay on Winter Meltdown recently, and it seems to be just a little bit sloppy. Like, for once, BikeRush seems like maybe he doesn't know what he wants to do here, especially against like Black Hand or with Black Hand. Those seem to be a contributing factor on that particular map, so maybe that could be something that Futurama's looking out for. I don't know if Futurama is one of those players that sits there and dives into other people's games and whatnot, if he's watched BikeRush overall, so that may not be something he knows. And it just may also be a coincidence in mine as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they did play this in their original series, and essentially, it looked like it was going to be a BikeRush victory. He had a commando and everything. And then with one foul swoop, Futurama took this major engagement in the middle, and BikeRush found himself without the reinforcements necessary to hold it. And because he decided to go for that field, it just ended the game, right? Like, and I think what you were saying before as well, what to do on this map. Like, some people, after they've got their natural expansion, it can be a bit confusing whether or not they want to take the middle field or if they want to go to one of the edge fields here. And that, of course, is going to dictate, a vast portion of the late game.
Well, I think if BikeRush picks a GDI-based faction and gets that big harvester, gets the Marv out and going, he seems to do a lot better with that. But I think if he picks Black Hand or really anyone else, I think he's going to struggle for sure, at least on that particular map.
Yeah, we'll see what they want to do. Technically, this is the same rules as every other series, so they can mutually agree on a map, or I can pick it for them. Map, or I can choose. Oops, spelled mutual wrong.
That's all right, words are hard.
So one of those things, I got the mic, I don't have like a boom mic or anything, it just sits on this thing in front of me, and so the keyboard is behind it, so I've got to reach around to type on the keyboard. Sometimes I miss some keys doing that. Look at this, though. Scrin selection for Futurama before Bike even attempts to pick his faction. Now, they can't play as random either, which means they must pick their faction. And Futurama, he's got a great win rate on Scrin. He's probably the most successful Scrin player in the tournament so far, outside anyone who's decided to dip their foot into Trav. But yeah, I like the pick, and Bike Rush has lost a number of games against Futurama's Scrin already.
Oh, and Scrin's definitely one of those factions that Futurama seems very, very comfortable against. And I think really the best contender for Scrin is probably some of the Nod factions. I think people really sleep on, at least overall in general, I think people really sleep on Avatar man spam. And Scrin just seems to have such a hard time dealing with that, especially in the later games.
Yeah, Avatar man spam with Venoms over the top. It's always a potent mix, especially with the redemption ability these days. That's definitely like a huge deal when they're doing imp spam. Like if you can just resurrect all your infantry squads as really buff awakened squads with EMP, you can just start blasting EMP down, and yeah, it can be very difficult for Scrin to deal with that. Having said that, they do have the Devastator, which is a fantastic unit in those situations, especially for base pushing and things like that. But we'll have to see how this goes. I don't think Futurama is going to sit around and let that sort of happen. And you got to remember, if you do go heavy man spam as Nod, you tend to be the defender because you can't obviously be that aggressive with man spam. It's pretty slow, right? Bike can't pick random. He has to pick his faction. Random is not allowed in the tournament. He's going to go Blackhand. Ooh, now again, this is his most played faction, and he has a very low win rate compared to the other factions with it.
On this map too, so I think this will be really interesting. No GDI faction for this one, so no Marv for either player. I think this does favor Futurama, as I said before. I'm going to stick to my guns, but you know, these players often like to prove me wrong, so maybe they're going to keep doing that.
Yeah, we'll have to see how this goes. I'm just going to fix the scoreboard now to add the factions onto that one. Okay. Screen Blackhand. Stream looks good. Audio looks good. Bike Rush Blackhand. Screen. All right, we are in business, Koryak. I think we're just about ready to start this grand final. Oh, no, he's switched his faction. Nod. God damn. Now I got to Alt-Tab again and mess the connections up. Maybe he was hoping that Futurama would switch his faction when he's picked Blackhand, but I guess not. All right, Future ready. All right, here we go, Koryak. This is the Invitational Extended Series 2025. This is the grand final. It is Bike Rush versus Futurama. I'll intro Bike, and Koryak, I'll leave you with Futurama. Sounds good?
Alrighty.
Ooh, DC screen already, but we are loading into game. First game will be on Winter Meltdown, and starting on the southwest side, playing as the Nod Vanilla, it is going to be BikeRushOwnz.
His opponent from the moment in the top right-hand corner of the map, rocking the cyan in the screen. This is Futurama.
Yeah, Futurama now with the portal opening. We'll have to see if we're going to see some disintegrators out of there. I know he's only screen vanilla, but still, vanilla disintegrators seem to be pretty popular these days. I believe they're like a little bit faster, but Bike Rush just going for the two militants. So that probably means he's going to build a Raider buggy, I reckon.
Definitely see that coming for sure. Buzzer Squad's already out looking for a little bit of scouting. Probably going to pop themselves in a few garrison buildings. No, actually, one of them is going to get sniped over there in the center. Nothing really to write home about, but at the very least, that's one less scout to make their way over into Bike Rush's base. And you got to keep an eye on Bike Rush, especially on this map. There's so much time for him to make it all the way over. There's so much time for him to prepare. a rush. Although recently I haven't seen Bike Rush do a crazy amount of rushes in general, so we may not see that at all. But I think you need to keep an eye on Nod. You need to keep an eye on Bike Rush, especially for that sneakiness. And I think Futurama's slowly inching his way over there.
Yeah, I mean, it's leaving any Nod faction unscouted in a tournament is just risky. I mean, you can do it on occasion if you really think they're not going to do anything, but in this case, Futurama has yet to get a scout in. Looks like he's satisfied with just taking the few buildings he's got. I mean, he's got those two in the middle. Like you said, there's a lot of flanking routes on this map. So, but yeah, it is just going to be a straight up eco build from BikeRush into the expand.
Futurama being just a little bit ahead of the economy. I've got Battlescar working up on my end, so I've got a few more stats to look at here than Green Zero has right now. But that's not too surprising. BikeRush actually eclipsing Futurama. Futurama was ahead for a good while, but I think BikeRush got his refinery out just a little bit sooner, which will add up over time.
Yeah, it's one of those things at the start of the game. Couple of $100 here, couple of $100 there. It doesn't really do too much, but yeah, it can build up over long periods of time, especially when you look at maps with the spikes on them and people hold spikes longer than their opponents. That can have a huge impact over the course of a 10, 15, or 20-minute game. But there's the Raider Buggy. It is a delayed Raider Buggy, so he went for Harvesters first. So BikeRush not afraid at all of being rushed by anything. Meanwhile, we have the Seeker Scout coming out from Futurama. So yeah, Corey, both these guys hardcore eco into late scouts.
Futurama looks like he's going to open with the first little bit of harassment. He's got a few Seeker tanks making their way over to the north, but BikeRush is following not too far behind. He is building, I think, a couple of bike and buggy here. Yep, it looks like it's a second bike out to deal with that pesky scout. And Futurama on this map has really favored that early game harassment, and he's had a lot of really good effects. Seeker tanks finally making their way in. Looks like they're a little bit separated, but so far nothing here for the defense. Seeker tanks are going to finally go for one of those harvesters. Harvester, if it's not careful, going to get destroyed rather quickly. BikeRush cannot really afford to lose that. He's got to be careful, and right now he's being forced out of his field. Futurama doesn't need to win that engagement. He just needs to make it annoying for him to harvest.
Yeah, I mean, even not getting a harvest here just yet, he might actually still get one, but yeah, just complete shutdown of the expansion, right? There's nothing happening here. There's no mining going on. Meanwhile, Futurama was mining happily, so he pulled those harvesters off the line for like 20-25 seconds. The Seekers haven't been dealt with yet. I mean, he might lose this Raider Buggy. He could probably get that bike if he focuses, but yeah, I think that's a good little bit of harassment from Futurama. Yeah, he's going to get that Raider Buggy as well.
And he's found great value in that because while he's been doing this, that's given him a little bit of time to get a small economic lead on BikeRush. He's got about 2K in total resources gathered, and that boosted him up to about 1K resources per minute. So that little harassment did make a bit of difference. A couple of disintegrators over here for Futurama over in the south, making their way across the map. Futurama doing a really good job with that scout, with that buzzer hive right before it. I would love to see a lot more players do that because I feel like that buzzer can be quite critical as far as where to go.
Yeah, sending those disintegrators through the middle, actually going to cut off that bike. I think that's his scouting bike, and there's Seekers in the south as well. I thought he was going to join those disintegrators with the Seekers and go for an attack, but what I would like to see is a lightning spike with repair drones. That doesn't seem to be getting done as much anymore these days. But yeah, he is going to start attacking the harvesters in the main, and once again, he's going to force another pull. And I think he's just going to reverse move out. Once he's got the pull, he just leaves. Look at that. He's not interested in losing these Seeker tanks. He's just making BikeRush micro. And look, BikeRush may very well forget about one of the harvesters that he's got left next to those power plants.
One other thing, though, too, if Futurama keeps up this consistent barrage, this back and forward, it's going to make BikeRush consider that there's always something like that on the horizon, making its way towards him. So he's got to be cautious, and it can affect his mental over time. BikeRush seems to be happy to dive into a good number of these Scorpion tanks. He does have his operations center. It looks like there is something cooking up there in the background. I would assume it's going to be a dozer upgrade, but we'll get to see here in a couple minutes. A few disintegrators did make their way over to the northern sector of the map, but it doesn't matter because that Venom's going to be there to pick it up. No, actually, he turns around, which means these disintegrators can walk their way forward. Nope, no, never mind, take it back. Raider Buggy's going to take him out just as quickly.
Yeah, there's only a few left, and there were Seekers in the south, disintegrators in the south that the Venoms were responding to, and I think BikeRush, he's just going to sit here, and I think he's just playing a campy strategy, and I don't think Futurama's going to mind that, right, because he's going to get up to his shielded tripods, and you got to look out when you're playing as Nod, because he's going mainly tank Raider buggy, and that's not going to stand up to a massive amount of tripods. I just think, yeah, BikeRush, zero aggression, hardcore eco, and now he's starting to push out across the map. But again, he's going to come up against tier 3 armor, and also attenuated force fields is done. So, yeah, this is going to be tricky for BikeRush, I reckon.
Futurama also being the first to move his drone ship into another natural expansion. I guess into the second natural expansion. BikeRush moving in the center of the map. I'm not sure they want to take this fight with all of these shielded tripods, but they're going to move their way over to the south, which could be Futurama's doom if he's not careful. That drone ship is now in danger as the forces move their way in. Venom's going to take a couple shots off of them as well. Drone ship is going to take at least minor amounts of damage. No response here yet from Futurama. These Venoms are going to be absolutely on top of it as the drone ship goes down about half HP, but does finally make it to the safety of its own troop. But that expansion has been stopped. BikeRush now moving on the forces of those tripods. Tripod getting down to about half HP. Drone ship going to get deployed as it looks like this is going to be our first engagement for the map. We do have the upgrade for the dozer and the laser capacitor in the background that could tip the scales in their favor, but these units are going to be so hard to do. The phase does come out, and it looks like Futurama has this fight. This one tripod can put in so much work. There's the one click, but only getting, it looks like 3 of the Scorpion tanks. Drone ship getting targeted, but still that's drawing some of the fire there. Futurama seeming to be happy to just absorb the damage and destroy the forces for BikeRushOwnz, as they actually been pushed back entirely over there in the north. Drone ship does go down in the south, though.
Yeah, what a huge engagement there. It didn't look that great for Futurama at the start, but he's managed to come through in not too bad a condition. He still has quite a bit of armor here, but like you said, he did lose the drone ship. Venoms are coming across. They're going to be destroyed. There's still 2 tripods here. He needs to kill more of these laser Scorpion tanks because he's been focusing down the tripods, which is good. I think he's going to start focusing the Seekers now, but I mean, there's still quite a lot of Seekers here. It's going to be tight. He might be able to overrun this last tripod. Phase has been used, stasis has been used, so none of those are coming back, but that tripod is still alive, and I think BikeRush, he might be all in. I think he might have sold his MCV, because I can't see it on the map, and so if he doesn't win with this push, he might just be finished. He's going to get that portal, which is going to stop the assimilators coming down on the front line, but this tripod's firing this building is just fantastic for Futurama, because it's blocking most of the tanks, while the tripod gets to fire continuously, non-stop, and that tripod might just sneak away I think he's going to get run down, though. There we go.
He does get taken out there in the end. Another tripod gets isolated. Futurama can't really afford to lose these, as these laser capacitors are going to do so much damage to these shields. Shield's already down. Tripod in danger. He's going to try to hobble his way around, but like a penguin with a wounded leg, he's not going to get out in time, because here comes the club.
Yeah, last tripod goes down. But I mean, these Seeker tanks were cutting off all the reinforcements, killing 1 tank at a time. They're now going to get dealt with, but this just gives Futurama more time to get some more units down. And look at that. I don't think there's going to be enough Scorpion tanks to actually kill Futurama here. He's still got 2 tripods at home, 4 tripods. So this is actually bad for BikeRush, because BikeRush will be long-range mining, and he's going to be up against long-range mining Scrin, which is going to do it better, right? And there's quite a number of tripods here. If these tripods all come together, he's just not going to be able to kill them.
And BikeRush's economy is finally beginning to peter out. He was ahead of Futurama for quite some time there in the economic league, but right now Futurama is beginning to eclipse him, and that's definitely going to be because of that all-in, I believe. And so far, BikeRush has not expanded into any of the natural expansions. He's completely long-distance harvesting. So is Futurama, but Futurama at the very least has middle map control, which means he can get a couple of those spots a little more unattacked overall.
Yeah, Futurama is taking Tiberium off both the top and the bottom field. BikeRush is also doing the same. Stealth Harvesters will help him immensely, but now that the Tier 3 has been sold from Futurama, it's just going to be Seeker tanks, which again will help out against the Harvesters. Not so good against his Scorp tanks, but there's 5 tripods here. There's just not enough tanks, right? He's got beam cannons. Interesting choice. It's going to force Futurama back for the time being, but that Mind Strike as well going to completely miss the tripods. You just got to feel there's still a few too many tripods here, and I think Futurama is looking pretty good now. He's going to retreat. He needs to make sure it doesn't get split up. He's going to find some harvesters as well, and just remember, in the long-range mining game, that's going to be important. I'm not sure about this, Korak. He's actually going to go in a really unusual situation here. If he can get enough of the tanks, it might be okay. He doesn't have a phase field. He's going to start focusing the tanks down now. He gets some of the beam cannons. The beam cannons will have to retreat. There's only 3 tripods left. He's going to get into crush range now, but yeah, I think this might have been a mistake from Futurama. He's losing his forces quite rapidly.
Futurama definitely making a little bit of a sloppy engagement. These tripods doing everything they can to try to keep up with the Scorpion tanks, but the micro is good for Bike Rush as the last tripod goes down. Futurama throws in the towel, giving our first points to BikeRushOwnz.
Oh, you just can't help but feel that Futurama was in a fantastic position towards the end of the game. Why he chose to engage on that ridge? Because he just split his own units up, right? That was just confusing as to why he did that. He could have pulled back into the center and regrouped. Yeah, I think that was a huge mistake at the end, and it cost Futurama what should have been almost a certain win from that point.
And every single one of those small mistakes right there will add up, and they will add up quickly. Especially into Bike Rush, especially into Futurama. And Bike Rush immediately capitalized on it. He saw that Futurama was in that bad spot. Futurama, his forces weren't as grouped as they needed to be, which means he wasn't able to take advantage of the powerful tripods. And it looked like it was very much so in his favor, but Bike Rush was able to turn around. I think those beam cannons may have been a really good option there. That longer range ability, letting those Scorpion tanks absorb plenty of the damage, seemed to make a really good impact. And I don't think Futurama had enough meat shields to help support those tripods.
Yeah, it's one of those things, right, where the beam cannons were interesting, but Bike Rush did get enough of them out to go, hey, look, I can just sit back and beam you down. But again, Futurama made the right choice to retreat, but again, just turning around on the high ground when he had half his units on the high and the low, he just split himself up, and Bike Rush knew straight away that was a fantastic engagement there. And yeah, I just felt if Futurama just pulled back into the center regroup, he could have won. He could have cut off all the long-range mining with his Seeger tanks as well. There was no need for him to really push in there. He must have been aware that Bike Rush was all in, since he could see all three remaining green fields. But yeah, Futurama, that's the decision he's made. And unfortunately, Bike Rush, he has made the correct decisions, and he's come out ahead in game number 1.
I think the biggest surprising thing for me on that match is that Futurama didn't play a slower game. I really expected him to play a slower game, especially into Nod, especially once he knew that all-in happened. I feel like that would have really helped him, but maybe he just wanted to leave Bike Rush alone. Maybe he wanted to get that tempo in his favor as quickly as possible, but once again, unfortunately, that did not happen.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I just realized I had the colors wrong as well. I forgot to update the colors on the scoreboard, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now.
Well, luckily, it seems like everybody's sticking to their more traditional colors. Futurama on the cyan and Bike Rush on the red, of course.
There we go. That should be a bit better for our scoreboard. People will be happy. I'm not sure if anyone pointed that out. I do miss a fair bit of the chat.
I unfortunately can't watch the chat as closely as I would like to, because I don't have it up on my OBS. I need to keep OBS up so I can see the economy in the background.
Yeah, looking at the chat history there, people could smell the Futurama victory there, yeah. Some people are saying that he threw his drone ship. Look, I don't think he threw his drone ship, because Bike Rush spent a long time attacking that, right? And that carved out a fair bit of Bike Rush force, wasting time shooting at the drone ship. Yeah, he got it, but the thing was, he lost so many tanks by the time he got it. Was it really worth it? And he did hit before the critical tripod mass was out, but yeah, you just can't help but feel that yeah, Futurama was in a he was in a good spot, and yeah, you got to hand it to Bike Rush. He never gives up, right? Even though he got pushed back, he's like, no, I'm just going to keep building. I'm going to throw it all on the table, and yeah, he just somehow makes it happen.
And I don't know if you saw it in the background, but Futurama was actually really close to slapping an engineer in there. It was already produced, but unfortunately the Venom ran around and sniped it before it could really do anything and before it can get the repair off on the drone ship.
Yeah, only a handful of Venoms in that whole game, but they definitely had an impact there, yeah, forcing the drone ship retreat and, of course, taking a lot of health off while it was in the air and a few snipes here and there, but Bike Rush very quickly cut production of those. I think we only saw maybe about half dozen Venoms in that game, but he was going for that triple laser strat, and we've seen him do that before against Rex, right? We saw him do it in the, the Chrono Clash, where he just goes all in 2 base lasers, and then he sells right back to tier 1, and will just cannibalize his base till the end of time to just pump out these truly huge armies. All right.
Looks like our next map is picked.
Yeah, we got faction swaps coming in. GDI and Steel Talons. We'll have to go and modify that there. Okay. And Futurama.
It's going to turn into a bit of a rush for the center. Having 2 GDI factions and having 3 center fields so close to each other is going to allow that Marv to do so much work. And I've seen both Bike Rush and Futurama sneak their way in there and take over that center of the map, and it's really going to boil down to that center control, I feel.
Yeah, you see a lot of players play like just for the keep away game. It's like, all right, I'm just going to sit back, build up, and then I'm just going to push into the middle, and I'm just going to fortify the middle of the map so you can't have it, right? And they just win by draining out the other players' resources and forcing them to attack into them. So, but it is an interesting map. We have also triple spikes on the map, which is pretty uncommon, but starting on the east side of Badland Hills, playing as the Steel Talons Force, it is going to be BikeRushOwnz.
His opponent still for the moment on the left-hand side, rocking the Cyan still, but making his first switch over to GDI. This is Futurama.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if anyone does any type of perhaps Orca Rush or something like that in this particular matchup. I don't think so. I mean, we have seen airfield opens on this particular map, but I don't think either side picked the GDIs to do that. I think they've picked the GDIs because they want to play for the late game. And the thing is, if it does go to the late game, remember, Futurama is going to be facing off against Behemoth, where he's only got Juggernauts. Behemoth will have the advantage in that particular fight. Or if it goes tanks, again, Steel Talons has the advantage in the Mammoth tanks with the adaptive armor and the RGA, so it's really going to be up to Futurama, the GDI player, to make something happen. He can't just let Bike Rush get to the center first.
I feel like it's also going to come down to production, because I've seen this fight work out a couple of times in the Chrono Clash, and I believe even in this tournament as well, where we've had Steel Talon Behemoths in the center, and they've set up beforehand, and the other faction being GDI or Zocom, whoever it was, either way, they did not have the Behemoths, but they were able to outproduce and able to get 2 Juggernauts per Behemoth, and it really made a big difference there.
Yeah, I mean, if you outnumber the enemy, that's going to be crucial, especially if you're using basically the same unit. But if you're on an even footing, that's the problem, right? Because that's where the Steel Talons is going to have the advantage. Their units are just simply better in that situation. GDI has got sonic weapons, which is a big boom to them. And they also have things like Zone Troopers on the ground, and they can produce a Commando if they like, which is fantastic against Juggernaut Behemoth. If you can surprise them, most people don't expect the Commando to come out, so you usually see a few Jugs or Behemoth fall to a surprise Commando. And of course, we must not forget about the uplink, which is absolutely crucial in this matchup. Whoever has Shockwave online is basically, you know, if both players don't have Shockwave, then one player is going to lose. Whoever has the Shockwave should be winning those fights.
Well, and the RNG has seemed to be really good for the Shockwave artillery, just sort of overall. I've seen it into plenty of Redeemers, and it just absolutely locking it down, which is absolutely devastating. And it's usually when the Redeemer is facing the wrong direction. Watchtower out to kill a couple of scouts here for Bike Rush, not Green Zero. Futurama not wanting him to sit over here up on this hill, but the low power mode does happen just as quickly.
Yeah, Bike Rush sending a few MRTs across the map. We have 4 by the looks of it. So he's going to send 4. They're not all grouped up. They are a bit spaced out. So Futurama has a little bit of time to do something about this. Barracks will come down. Maybe a Guardian Cannon on the way. He definitely has at least a Watchtower. But there's already Predator tanks coming and rocket squads. Minefield instantly kills one of those rocket squads. That's nice, but yeah, he's starting to set up his defenses. I wouldn't be surprised if he's working on a war factory. Bike Rush really aggressive trying to get that Predator tank, and oh my god, he pays for it with a MRT, but he might still get that Predator tanks trying to get behind the war factory, sorry, the refinery here. Oh, it's one shot away, Koryak, so close, but it looks like it's going to survive.
Futurama having great micro control out there, saving that unit, which is going to be pretty good because the skirmishing power for the MRT is just so powerful. A couple of rocket squads did finally make their way out. It looks like 2 squads are going to join the fray, and it looks like Biker is going to leave a couple of troops here behind to absorb some of the damage and maybe give these MRTs time to retreat. Futurama actually putting a scout in a really annoying spot over in Bike Rush's natural expansion there. I forgot those were even there, but he's going to get a free scouting and a little bit of free damage as well.
Yeah, very annoying position, and it's probably worth noting that behind that push, Futurama went for a second ref instead of a War Factory, so he really was confident that he was going to hold that without the assistance of a second War Factory, and he didn't lose a single Predator tank, even though the other Predator tank drove over one more mine. You know, he lost no Preds. He did lose a little bit of infantry, but still, like, it didn't slow his economy down. Bike Rush lost more units. Bike Rush, though, is getting the blue tip, and yeah, like you said, that scout from Futurama on the bottom right is very, very handy indeed.
Airfield out for both players. It looks like Bike Rush has 2 with Orcas already ready to go. 3 Orcas ready for Bike Rush. Scout for Futurama. Futurama's going to see the Orcas coming his way. It's going to give him a little bit of time to prepare. Will it be enough? First Titan moves its way into the center of the map. Bike Rush looking around for its assault. MCV getting targeted. Orca's going to go for it, but it does look like it's deployed in time. Nothing really to shoot up, unfortunately, for all these units as the Harvester goes down, probably followed by a second one. There it is. Another Harvester going down. Third Harvester getting targeted, but looks like they don't have the shots, but a couple more reinforcements are going to finish it off, and these units are just sitting ducks. Finally, a Pitbull to make their way across the map. Rocket Squad's a bit late to the party. Bike Rush has already done his damage to Futurama.
Yeah, I thought it was a bit dicey there when he wasted some rockets on the MCV, not getting it, and then switching to Harvesters, but he actually went double airfield Orca, which meant there were more Orcas coming behind it, and yeah, killing the Harvesters regardless. We can see that it is multi-MCV for Futurama. He's definitely going to be missing those couple of Harvesters he just lost. He's probably going to have to rebuild some. He's going straight for the Juggernauts now, but this is what we expected. He's running to the middle field. He's got 2 MCVs. He's going for the Marv regardless. The Orcas are going into the expansion. Oh my god, there's only 1 turret and a couple of Pitbulls here. I just don't know why Futurama hasn't produced more air defenses. He knows about the double Orca, and he has just a single turret and a couple of Pitbulls. He lost almost every single harvest. He's got 2 remaining on that expansion.
That's 6 Harvester kills there for Bike Rush with just those Orcas alone. Pitbulls do get a kill over there, but I think it's too little too late. That's going to be 6 Harvesters down in quick succession. Futurama's one advantage at the time really was his economy, but it's beginning to dwindle as Bike Rush has about 17k per minute going, opposed to Futurama's 13k per minute. Bike Rush also has about 6k in the bank total resources gathered. Orcas make another foray into the northern area, looking for something to snack on. Hopefully Futurama's a little more prepared than he was before. It sounds like we got a Marv out for someone.
Yeah, Futurama does get the Marv out, and he is going to move forward and start Marvesting, which he really badly needs right now. He does have more turrets on his expansion this time, which is good. He's not working on Tungsten Shell. I mean, you don't really need it against Orcas, but you know, if Bike Rush continues to persist with these, it is going to be better to have it. But look at that, he doesn't actually Marvest the field in front of him. I guess he's confident enough that he's secured it, and he's just going to harvest it the old-fashioned way. Bike Rush, meanwhile, has a few Firehawks out as well. Oh, Shockwave comes down. Where's that? That's going to be on Futurama's Marv. Here it goes.
It is going to catch the MRV. The Marv is going to get a little bit targeted there as another drop does come in. Marv going down about half HP. So much EMP as Bike Rush moves his way into the center of the map, taking over control, destroying that Marv, killing the last line of hope for Futurama. Futurama is in trouble. He's got his own Orcas out here, but their damage is not going to be enough to destroy those Behemoths. 2 Juggernauts join the fray. Couple of tanks moving their way in, but they're going to get destroyed. Behemoth finally going down. Another one getting targeted. Another one getting so close to going down. That Pitbull's trying his best, but no, he actually does get it. 2 are going to go down. No real answer just quite yet to the Juggernauts for Futurama. A couple of rocket squads will definitely be quite good into this, but the Watchtower is strong. The AP ammo is strong, and they are going to get one of those Juggernauts. Sonic Emitter on the front line as well. Orcas moving their way in. Still no real response here from the Orcas. 2 AA batteries are going to do a lot of damage, but not enough to save the last. No, Juggernaut does make it over, but the Firehawk, no! Somehow he does manage to survive.
Yeah, this is so desperate from both players, throwing everything they have at each other here, and they've just completely wrecked each other's unit composition here right now. Futurama's running on fumes. Bike Rush just has nothing here. He just lost another Behemoth. He loses the Engineer as well, and he gets the Husk. This is just a nightmare situation for both these guys. They still have plenty of Tiberium on their expansions, but no one can get anything set up. As soon as they produce a unit or a structure, it's just immediately destroyed.
BikeRush is going to be the first one to put a War Factory there on the front line, giving him a little bit of that defender's advantage and some repairs on his Behemoth if he needs it. BikeRush selling off or losing his barracks could be in a bit of trouble. I'd like to see Futurama produce a couple more man spam units. Rocket squads would have a profound effect. Orca's moving their way in, going for the Juggernauts, going for those soft targets. 2 do go down, 1 left. If this does go down, Futurama's going to be in some serious trouble. 3rd Juggernaut getting taken down, Husks getting targeted, Barracks going down to half HP. Futurama is in trouble, but he's continuing the push with this Sonic Emitter and with these watchtowers inside of BikeRush's base.
Yeah, all the Husks destroyed on Futurama's side, but he has also destroyed the Husks of BikeRush. But once again, as soon as they start pushing with the little units they have, they just trash each other and completely destroy each other. I'm not sure what Futurama's going to do here. He might be looking for a second wave of Sonic Emitters. He really badly needs it, and I think he might be able to break through here. The Sonic Emitter is just going to be a real pain if he gets a double drop on these enemy behemoths here. We'll have to see what it's going to be, whether he's going to wait for them. There are some hammerheads floating around a little bit. Actually, no, sorry, there is one more Juggernaut back here, and he's trying to take out that War Factory. We'll have to see what's going to happen here. I think, yeah, he's got one Sonic, but he placed it quite far back this time.
Heads out for Futurama, going for at least one of the Heavy Harvesters. Heavy Harvester going down to about half HP. Sonic Emitter for Futurama going to get targeted by the Behemoths, and it should go down here rather quickly. BikeRush in this background has not been using this time idly. He's been grabbing blue Tiberium left and right, getting full load after full load, and it's showing in his economy. He's about 4K ahead and almost about 20K ahead in total resources gathered. Constructor getting targeted, going down about half HP. Orca's here continuing the assault. I think Futurama's going to be running out of steam. He's definitely running out of economy, and BikeRush is definitely going to capitalize on that Sonic Emitter there on the front line. Futurama's trying everything he can. He does get one Behemoth, but there's still 3 more to replace it. One Juggernaut here to join the fray. Still no War Factory on the front line for Futurama, which means BikeRush can afford these trades. BikeRush can afford to produce more and more units, and he is going for production and economy at the same time.
Yeah, his Behemoth numbers are starting to swell now. He's got 5 of them, which is the most we've seen on any one side. MCV does fall for Futurama, but he has a second one available to him. Gets the War Factory. What I don't like is that Futurama sold off all his AA turrets, even though BikeRush was still producing ore, because I guess he felt that he destroyed enough that he wasn't going to persist with them, but he definitely has. Something we haven't noticed is that the Hammerheads, which just got finished off then, had actually killed quite a number of BikeRush harvesters on the north field, but Futurama's going to keep fighting this one out. He still has what he believes is enough forces to make this happen. And once again, the Orcas are coming in. There's just not enough AA here. And again, selling off the AA was a mistake. BikeRush is more than happy to trade Orcas for Juggernauts, and that is the defining factor in that game.
That Steel Talons rolling their way into the center, and BikeRush capitalizing on that economy and then focusing on production really got him the win there. That could have gone either way. Futurama was not going to make it easy, and indeed he did not, but it was not enough to take on BikeRush.
Yeah, $30,000 in favor of BikeRush. That's what happened, right? I mean, BikeRush was losing more units, but he had 30 grand extra, and that just made the difference at the end of the game there. Futurama didn't really get enough harvesters back on his expansion, right? Like, even at the end when I was looking, there's only like 4 harvesters there, so BikeRush was able to just refine more in the background, and yeah, 1.18 kill death ratio to 0.82, so he was more efficient, but yeah, maybe he should have got Tungsten Shell. That might have actually completely turned the entire game around.
It definitely was a tough decision because his problem wasn't just the Orcas. The Orcas were definitely a threat. I feel like Futurama should have been a little bit more prepared for it because he did send his Orca Strike out, and he saw the Orcas in BikeRush's base before he really made his way across the map. That gave him time to build up rocket squads, to build up pit bulls, to build up AA batteries, and unfortunately he just did not take the opportunity to prepare for that. And when you don't set up for BikeRush's rushes with those Orcas, then it really shows.
Yeah, I mean, BikeRush had a strategy there from the get-go, double airfield Orca, and it's like, well, Orcas are fantastic at taking out those units behind the line, and so I'm just going to keep building them. It was just the crappy AA turrets, and Futurama actually got some very lucky target firing. I don't think he did that himself, but a lot of the time the AA turrets were working in unison, focusing one target after another, so I think there might have been some lucky targeting there for Futurama as well, but I mean, realistically, it might have been worth, just getting that tungsten shell, and that would have prevented the Orcas from trading at that point. If the Orcas went into that type of gunfire, they would have been shredded before they got even a second rocket off. So, but yeah, very desperate from both players, clawing at each other non-stop, preventing the other from getting to that higher number. But surprisingly, we didn't see an uplink from Futurama. He managed to he didn't really weather the first one. He lost his Marv, and that was a big deal as well, right? He lost the Marv way too soon.
And before it was able to get really any resources whatsoever, if it had been able to harvest up, say, the blue Tiberium or something, I think that would have really helped out, because BikeRush has capitalized on the economic difference as quickly as possible, and it really, really showed. And he definitely had that 30K, sorry. He did have that 30K lead, which in BikeRush's hands is a lot, and he can do a lot with it.
Yeah, I mean, I fully expected Futurama to harvest that field, right? Because at the end of the day, he never harvested anything off that field, right? So it just sat there idly the whole time. It would have been better, I think, just to harvest over the top of it, get your boost, because you're not planning to sit there with BikeRush for a long period of time. You're planning to push him off and take this, like, secure the entire center of the map. So I think he should have just, as soon as his Marv came out, he should have started harvesting. At least then he would have got value out of the Marv. But yeah, Shockwave, would have been immensely good, especially the EMP blast. Neither side went for the EMP control spikes, and that could have been a huge game changer as well.
That would have been critical, because it didn't look like anyone really made their way into those little sectors of the map, those little hubs there for the EMP control center. And even if a couple people diverted forces, that would have been less in the center. So it might have been decent to grab, even for a little bit of a distraction, because if either player had a little bit less forces here and there, that fight really could have gone either way. And Futurama tried everything he could to get his tempo back, and he just almost had it, but BikeRush just had so much of that economy, and those behemoths just kept building up. And BikeRush is very critical on not only destroying the economy of Futurama, so that he very clearly had that plan in his mind, because he killed 6 harvesters, but he made sure those juggernauts went down left and right, and really, really helped out.
Yeah, look at this map choice here. Battle-based Beaverton. Futurama has chosen this map several times in the past. He's going to switch to Skrin. Interesting map choice. He needs to break things up. It is going to be a long series, best of 11, so plenty of time to go, but going down, if he ends up going down 0-3 in the first 3 games, it's going to be a real strike to his psyche there. I think he needs to, if he wants to stabilize, he needs to do it here before BikeRush builds too much of a lead.
Give me one moment, just responding to your chat.
Yeah, I don't have the that other scoreboard. What was it called? I've forgotten its name already.
Battlescry.
Yeah, Battlescry, yeah. Because I have the retail version of the game, and I've said it before, like, if I want to buy the Steam version, I have to buy like 12 games to get it, because they don't sell it by itself here. So it just seems a bit weird to spend $70 to buy 12 games I already own. So I think I might just wait and see if they make a tiny little adjustment to that, to make it.
You can catch it. You can catch it on sale a couple of times. I picked it up. I picked up all the games for like $7. And in the background, when we have more time to talk about it, I can try to shoot you a couple of relatively reputable websites that still have a couple of those deals and bought up a bunch of those cheap keys that you can in turn buy from them. And I've had a lot of success with them.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the price or anything like that. It just seems a bit like of a waste, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because they, like, sure, it'll go on special and stuff, but still, I'm rebuying a dozen games I already own that I already paid for just to have the scoreboard, when it's only going to take like them changing like 1 or 2 lines of code to fix that scoreboard, and I'm sure they'll get around to doing it at some stage. BikeRush Blackhand Trav. Okay, Blackhand Trav. Let's fix that.
I didn't expect to see battle base from these players, and I don't really know what to expect, because I haven't seen too many games from Futurama and from BikeRush on this particular map. I've seen a lot from Bart Jones, but not really a crazy amount from either player. only being 2 Tiberium fields, and I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, they're quite large with a decent number of blue Tiberium in the center. I think that center map control will make a big difference. I suspect Bike Rush will be the first to try to capitalize on that, because he's got Black Hand, and there's at least a couple of buildings here and there he can garrison those units, which will net him a lot of vision and some free damage.
Yeah, definitely. Let me just have a look at some of these details here. Yep, there we go. Alright, sorry, I was alt-tabbed. Have they changed factions again? They've changed them again. Oh my god. It's annoying. Got to alt-tab again and then wait for everything to recon again. And then I go back in game and they've changed their factions again. Okay, finally. Just wait for this to recon to everybody. Yeah, but I'm not surprised that he's chosen Battle Base, because again, Futurama has chosen this several times in the past. Are you ready, Koryak?
I'm all good on my end.
Yep. All right, here we go. So this is going to be game 3. Once again, Futurama has the pick. He needs to make a stand here. He doesn't want to let Bike Rush get too far ahead, because you know, this is the final match of the tournament. You kind of have to win if you want the big prize. But we are on Battle Base Beaverton, and starting in the southwest corner, playing as the Black Hand, it's BikeRushOwnz.
His opponent for the moment over the northern section of the map, coming into the game with a bit of dream and glory and a fistful of Tiberium. This is Futurama.
Yeah, when we've seen him on this map before, he has tended to play GDI factions, so I can't recall seeing him play as Screen. He may have. I mean, there's been a lot of games. There's something we didn't actually cover in the stats, just how many games have been played. I think it's about 180 games or something along those lines, so it's definitely a pretty lengthy tournament despite the small amount of players, despite the short amount of matches there has been, but they've been very, very lengthy matches.
Well, in between this and the Chrono Clash, and then I believe Aquatech hosted a minor lower skill level tournament as well. I've had a hard time keeping up casting-wise, casting the Chrono Clash and casting this. I have a massive amount of coverage for that one, and I've got a pretty good amount of coverage for the IS. I think there's only been, 2 or 3 games I've missed, especially a lot of the more recent ones. Luckily, I was able to hop on this one, which I feel like is going to be pretty important and pretty exciting to see. Really, I don't know, other than garrison troops here and there in a couple of these buildings, which will be super annoying for Futurama, I don't know what to expect from Bike Rush on this map. I really just haven't seen him here.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, the first 2 matches, or the first 2 games have been, pretty entertaining and quite well thought out by both players, and it's really come down to who can control it better. So I do like the way both these players are playing. Someone in the chat's asking if I'm still confident about Futurama beating Bike easily. I never said he'd beat Bike easily. I just felt that Futurama, if he plays well, can beat Bike Rush. And I kind of wouldn't mind him beating Bike Rush here, but it is a big ask to come out ahead. And Raider Buggy comes out after 4th Harvester, so this is a late time scout. Bike Rush does this a lot. He just seems to know when the enemy's not rushing, and he always does the later scout. But if you are rushing, you can bet your ass that he has got a million scouts in your base.
Well, and into Futurama, it is probably a safe bet to assume that he's not going to rush. He does seem, in most cases, he does seem to really enjoy these more macro-oriented builds, these more economic-style builds. And his favorite factions being Skrin really reflect that, I feel. First couple Secret Tanks out, but Bike Rush is going to see them. He's going to have time to build a couple of things in the background. Looks like he hasn't made it over to his natural expansion just quite yet. Futurama's a little bit ahead, and I think Futurama's even building that refinery. I think this is going to boil down to economy. If Futurama can get ahead and can stay ahead, that'll make a big difference. First Harvester, Bike Rush going to get targeted. Losing that blue Tiberium would suck, but here it is right on cue. He's got a Scorpion tank, able to destroy one of the Secret Tanks for his opponent, saving that Harvester. But Futurama also grabbing his own set of blue Tiberium in the center of the map.
Yeah, he's going to get away with the blue tib. 2 Secret Tanks will fall. Second one just about to fall now. Bike Rush did go for a second MCV. Oh my god, look at this, Korak. He's moving his MCV directly down the center of the map. He's going to do a base push to War Factory all in. Futurama needs to spot this. He's got a portal, which I very much like. and he's working on, what is he working on? He's working on a nerve center. This could be for dev tanks. Dev defense would be fantastic if he can get a photon wall up as well. But he needs to be aware. I mean, you can probably see the MCV now that it's going to be this all-in. Photon cannon comes down in an unusual spot. Not going to help him in the long run being back there, but in the short term, it will push the units back just for now.
Flame Tank actually making its way into Futurama's base. Futurama's not prepared for it. He's got nothing absolutely to stop this Flame Tank as it just rolls its way in, destroying the portal, going for the refinery. BikeRush might already have a win on his hand. Losing this refinery is going to hurt Futurama's advantage because it was the economy, but it doesn't matter now because it's going to get destroyed just as quickly. Photon going to get targeted as well. Plenty of Scorpion tanks here to absorb some of the shots, and looks like we've got beam cannons in the background going for the drone ship. MCV walking its way up directly onto that drone ship. Futurama is in danger. Futurama is in trouble. There's a warp sphere here on the front line, but the beam can's going to get targeted down. Something may not pop out in time, and it looks like he's going to try to do a bit of body block, but it's not going to matter. More shredder turrets there on the front line. Warp sphere about down to half HP, going to get destroyed, and there it is. Only one Devourer tank going to make its way out of that sphere.
More Devourer tanks coming from the main base, including one which is charged up as well, but this is basically an all-in. And the beam cannons, yeah, I don't think you saw the beam cannons coming. Like you said, that flame tank on the ref completely nullifies Futurama's economic advantage here, so it's going to come down to who can control the units well enough here. But with a laser turret there, with a lot of beams, he's able to snipe down enough of these dev tanks. I don't think Futurama's going to have enough, right? He's pulling back. He's going to probably lose his last dev. Maybe it's going to get run down, but what's he going to do, right? He's got nothing here. I'm not sure if he's working on something. He's just building dev tanks right now. He's got one more structure he's going to get down. He's going to lose his drone ship. It's down.
Drone ship going down. Secret Shrine getting sold off there in the background. Looks like BikeRush got whatever upgrade he wants. Hand of nod there on the front line as the MCV continues its slow march on Futurama. Futurama is in danger. He's got to do something to turn this around. He doesn't have a lot of production, and he's losing his economy over time. He's still ahead right now. It's 12K to 9.5K, and there's a good amount of total resources gathered, but the problem is he doesn't have anything to stop this assault. He doesn't have anything to stop these beam cannons. A couple of gunwalkers are going to produce their way out, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Devourer tanks did fill up there in the background as the warp sphere does go down. Futurama losing even more of his production. Buzzard Hives moving their way in, looking for something to snack on, but they're going to get destroyed before they get anything whatsoever. Devourer tanks moving their way in. Gunwalkers here to join the fray, but the beam cannons are just doing so much damage. They're finally getting picked off by Futurama. Is this going to be his opportunity to turn things around? Only time will tell, but I don't think he has the forces. He definitely doesn't have the production as the last little bit of his forces go down, and Futurama goes down, giving BikeRush a 3-0 lead. Not what you want to see happen. You can't let BikeRush have a 3-0 lead.
Yeah, that was just a fantastic maneuver by BikeRush there. I mean, the two base all in with the flame tank there as well, and beams behind it. Oh my god! Like, and you can see that Futurama still had an opportunity to defend his main base there, but he had to charge his devs up, right? And they had to drive all the way to the back of his main field to charge up. So by the time they came back, the beams were there, and the beams just sniped his war factory. They sniped his nerve center. It's like, what are you going to do? You're basically dead. It doesn't matter if you kill my units now. You've got no production. So yeah, it was just a bad position for Futurama to be in, and BikeRush capitalized big time. But yeah, fantastic push from BikeRush. That's really going to shake Futurama up there. I mean, if Future had seen it coming, maybe he would have been alright. But yeah, look at the kill-death ratio for BikeRush. Stormed through with a fantastic push.
BikeRush subverting expectations, keeping Futurama on his back foot, because I did not predict a base rush that early, and BikeRush executed it quite well. Once again, Futurama did not see it. He did not move scouts in. He was not scouting, while BikeRush was doing the same. He was scouting ahead of his assault, ahead of his rush, and doing it well. And most importantly, he was able to predict what Futurama was going to produce and when he was going to do this, that, and the other. And knowing that he wasn't going to do anything rush allows BikeRush time to move his way into the center map, because even if Futurama had a couple more disintegrators maybe making their way in looking for a little bit of harassment, they would have seen those movements, and that could have been a completely different game. But still, BikeRush has been absolutely on top of it, and Futurama might be taking a little bit of a blow to his mental with that 3-0 lead. He still has time to turn it around, and if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be Futurama, but it's going to be uphill for sure against BikeRush.
Yeah, BikeRush looking pretty comfortable now that he's got a 3-0 lead there. But yeah, it's just an impressive strategy that he did there, and he just executed it perfectly. The flame tank killed the ref, completely shutting down the expansion. That's a complete line of economy that's cut off for Futurama. He put a warp sphere on the front line and beam cannons show up and beam it down. You can see he tried to building block the beams, which was a good idea, but BikeRush was putting down sporadic base defenses, which was preventing Futurama from getting proper walls off as well. And then yeah, it was well executed by BikeRush. I don't know what Futurama's going to do now. That was, I think, yeah, like you said, that's really going to shake Futurama. He's got the map pick again, and he really needs to pull something out of his hat now.
Couple of comments being a little goofy there in there. It looks like someone said BikeRush is like an anime antagonist, so strong he never fights at 100%. I don't think that's the case here against Futurama. I think Futurama will give him a run for his money. Sure, it looks like our first map gets picked by Futurama. Hopefully he's got a little bit of advantage. Still not sure how he just quite yet, but not really surprised by that.
Yeah, I think your mic's sort of distorting a little bit there. I'm not sure if it's just me.
Give me 1 minute as I fix it in the background.
Yeah, Futurama. I mean, maybe some people in the chat, maybe he's trying to set up the reverse sweep, but oh my god, that would be one hell of a reverse sweep. If it did get to a situation where he was 0-5 down and he reverse swept that would be an utterly historic move, but I don't think that's going to be a realistic prospect. He's down 0-3. I mean, yeah, even if he wins the next one, I mean, maybe he can stabilize, but if BikeRush ends up in a 4-0, like, at what point do you start to look at it and say the series is going to become unwinnable, right?
Futurama definitely does have the capacity to sweep BikeRush, but I think the biggest thing is going to boil down to really is mental tilt. Because BikeRush is just as susceptible to tilt and to mental losses. It really just depends how it goes. Because I have seen BikeRush throwing the towel in positions where if he just put it out, he could have won. It's not entirely possible. BikeRush is one of these higher caliber players, and he's just so hard to tilt. He's so hard to just fight against. Because Futurama had advantage in plenty of those, especially that first match. He had plenty of advantages, and just one little mistake right there cost him that entire round. But the same can happen to BikeRush as well. He can make mistakes here and there, and Futurama can capitalize on that. I think Futurama, one of the biggest things he needs to do is he needs to get a better scout off on BikeRush. Even if it's a couple of buzzer hives here and there, BikeRush just keeps doing these moves, and Futurama has been slow to transition, slow to adapt to BikeRush, and BikeRush just has a plan in mind. He comes out swinging. He already knows what he's going to do. It looks like our map is picked as well as the factions. So far, Green Zero, we've got Nod and Scrin. I'll let you know if they change, if you want to fix it there in the background.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and fix that one up. But yeah, like you said, it's the BikeRush effect, where he just knows exactly what he needs at the exact time. He knows what the other guy's doing, and he's just this perfect line of execution. It's just something that BikeRush is just phenomenally good at doing, and a lot of people don't even know how. Even when you watch a stream, you're like, how is he just like, he just flicks through to completely different strategy, and then it's like, you know, it turns out fantastic for him. He's really hard to jump, and that's why I have trouble with him as well. You try to jump him, you can't jump him at all. He's unjumpable in most situations. Yeah, I think
really, like I was saying before, I think really what it's going to boil down to is Futurama can win this, but he needs to scout, and he needs to play slow into his strengths. Like Green Zero was saying, it's very, very hard to jump a player like BikeRushOwnz, and I'm not sure Futurama should try. I think he's pushed his advantage a little bit in bad spots here and there when he could have saved everything with just a tiny amount of scouting.
Yeah, I think some people have in the chat pointing out the distortion in the mic there. It has been fixed now, so it looks pretty good. And we are going to be jumping into game number 4, which is Hampstead Gardens, made by yours truly. And starting in the southwest corner, playing as the vanilla nod, it is going to be BikeRushOwnz.
And his opponent from over on the top right-hand side of the map, still in the cyan, we have Futurama.
He has to absolutely 100% make a stand now in this series if he wants to stay in touch with BikeRush. He's been very competitive, I think, with BikeRush, and unfortunate that the first 1 or 2 games didn't fall in his favor. But yeah, basically, it's one of those things where, yeah, the first game especially, I felt came down to that very last fight. So Futurama needs to get something on the board to get some momentum to get back in the series. And yeah, like I said at the start, it's a long series, so anything can happen, Koryak.
Futurama starting off a little bit stronger than we've seen so far, at least with his scouting. He's got 3 buzzer squads making their way across the map, which is once again going to be pretty good into Nod. You got to keep an eye on BikeRush. As I said before, you cannot not have eyes on him. A little bit of double negative right there. And Futurama in the previous game, he was doing all of the things right except for that scouting. His economy was in a really good spot, and he seems to do quite well when his economy's up on BikeRush. And the same cannot be said for Futurama. Futurama seems to do a little bit worse when BikeRush gets that economic lead, like we saw on Tournament Highlands, I believe it was, or Badland Hills, forget which one it was. Yeah, it's hard to actually damage BikeRush's economy. If you kill a bunch of his harvesters, he just seems to spawn more out the side of the map. Like, he's really difficult to sort of bleed out. Like, there's been plenty of times I've played him where I'm getting frequent harvester kills over and over again, and it just has zero impact on his ability to essentially make war. Like, he continues to produce at huge rates. He's just so good at withstanding economic damage, and I understand, Nod is a little bit better at withstanding economic damage than some of the other factions, but still, he's just a hard player to kill. He really has basically no weaknesses, except maybe an on-point Master Leaf. Which so far we haven't seen it too much. And I think really the only contender for it is the meme Prime Underworld Fox, which does come out, but apparently he's retired. So sadly, no Underworld Fox in the in tournament, no wild card. Would have been funny to see at the very least. BikeRush putting a Raider buggy inside of Futurama's base, keeping up the scouting. Futurama not doing the same to BikeRush. This could once again be a mistake. So far, nothing weird from BikeRush. It looks like both players have developed into their natural expansion pretty quickly. Yeah, I'm going to try and pop up chat on my other screen here. Very delayed Raider Scout, because again, BikeRush just seems to know that he's not going to be in any real danger. He just predicts that Futurama's not going to do a rush or any type of push or anything like that, which of course he hasn't done. He's producing his Seeker tanks. He's doing his standard sprint open. He's got a ref down. He did have his MCV at the expansion a little bit quicker than BikeRush, but I don't think it's going to have a huge impact. Seeker tank will run through the expansion just to scout. He's not expecting that to live, so he just sends it all the way to the back just to buy as much time as possible. Nerve center is down, so he's got a nerve center, and this follow-up structure is going to be a tech center. We're going to see a fast tech off of 1 ref into the expand, Koryak. What do you think he's going to be doing with this? So far, he's really favored the Scorpion tanks early on, but he could get a couple more beam cannons. Those beam cannons have done a lot of work for him, and they've been really good into the tripods while he's been able to build up these Scorpion tanks. These it looks like it's going to be Scorpion tanks and a good number of these Raider buggies. I'm actually surprised we haven't seen too many Shock Troopers here for Futurama, though. He is screwed vanilla, so he doesn't have the fast legs. Raider Scout might get through. No, not quite. But Raider Scout will be destroyed. But look at this. It's triple War Factory for BikeRush. He's only got 1 ref on the Expo. This could, whatever this structure is going to be, I think he might be all-inning at this point here. But it's not going to be the fast laser strat, I think, because he wouldn't have built the War Factories this early. He's going to go for some hardcore aggression. Futurama might be in a little bit of trouble. He has some dev tanks out, which is nice. They have charge, but he's going straight for tripods. He's going to need them pretty quickly because, yeah, this aggression is going to hit fairly soon. Seeker tank losing its shield, getting targeted here by these Raider buggies. Raider buddies moving their way forward, scouting what's coming their way. We do have 1 Devourer tank that is a little bit charged up. Is going to take a couple of shots here off on the Raider buggies. That's exactly what he needs. He needs to whittle down these forces as quickly as possible. Tripod making its way over on the right-hand side. Futurama actually in a pretty good spot here. He's got to charge up those Devourer tanks. 1 does get isolated, might get destroyed. T3 is going to get spotted there. There's the decoy army to absorb some of the shots, but it's going to be really unfortunate for that Devourer tank. Storm Column there on the front line for the defense should help things quite nicely, but the problem's going to be these Harvesters. If these Harvesters go down, that is going to spell some doom. Futurama having a couple of Seeker tanks over on the left-hand side. Storm Column keeping BikeRush out of that side of the map, protecting that T3.
Yeah, look at that. He pulled the harvesters as well, so he's yet to lose a harvester. He's probably going to lose this ref. That storm column is in a nice spot back there. That really held him out. There is one tripod here as well. I'd expect probably a phase to come in if he tries to rush this tripod. I don't think he's going to let this one tripod fall, but he's still going to focus the ref down, allowing the tripod to continue to shoot at these units. No repairs for Bike Rush because his war factories are on the other side of the map. 2 tripods here now. Force field's just about to complete. Can Futurama stabilize? That's the question. Bike Rush is not all in, by the way. He's still triple war factory. There's the tech center, so this is a different type of aggression to the first game. He did hardcore aggression, and now he's falling back into the tech. And he's going for an expansion, so he's not just going to get lasers and sell right back down. He's going to go for a third base. Futurama needs to get that ref down pretty quick, and I think he's working on it right now.
Dozer upgrade probably building here in the background, trying to give those Scorpion tanks just a little bit of extra armor. Futurama doing a better job here of the scouts because Scorpion tanks are cross-eyed and they cannot shoot a buzzer squad whatsoever as it makes its way into the natural expansion. I'm not sure if it was able to catch the MCV and see it expand, but at the very least, he's going to see what Bike Rush has on the horizon and see that T3, or T2, sorry, which means he probably knows that the Dozer upgrade is on its way. Shields did complete for Annihilator tripods and tripods. Looks like we've got 3-4 so far on the map. I think the other option might be getting a couple of gunwalkers here. Even though they don't do a lot of damage to these Scorpion tanks, they will be nice to absorb some of the shots, or maybe a couple of disintegrators. We haven't seen really a lot of, and I know there's no fast legs or anything like that, but we haven't seen a lot of infantry at all, really, from Futurama, and I feel like those disintegrators can do a lot of work, especially into Scorpion tanks. Scorpion tanks finishing their Dozer upgrade here in the background.
Yeah, I just noticed that Futurama has a wild amount of economy. There's so many harvesters on the expansion. He's still got one on the main base as well, but I think he's had a good read on Bike... Oh my god, did Bike Rush sell his MCV? He put a ref down and sold the MCV. I was going to say, Futurama did a good read by expanding, but now he needs to re-scout and see that, yes, this is going to be an all-in. Once lasers is done, I think that he... Oh, look at that. Bike Rush cloaks. He cloaked 7 Raider buggies. I'm not sure what that's for.
Definitely some sneakiness coming up. Bike Rush moving his forces over on the right-hand side. Seeing a couple of scouts over here to the north. Militant squad's looking for something to snack on. It looks like Bike Rush is finally on the move. This is so many Scorpion tanks. Scorpion tanks also have a good chunk of these laser capacitors, which means the Raider buggies have it as well as EMPs. EMP is going to be quite devastating if Bike Rush plays them correctly. At the very least, they can destroy the shields, and I don't think Futurama has the forces here to fight this. Tiberium Spike going for the easy kill. Looks like we've got 7 tripods ready to go, but is that going to be enough to stop this assault? Only time will tell. Bike Rush splitting up his forces. Tripods could get a couple of really good shots off of it, but it looks like they're going to back up instead. Shield's already going down. Tripod getting targeted. Tripod getting destroyed before anything can really happen. Futurama trying the best he can to sneak these units out. Not going to do it in time, though, because they're going to get destroyed. They're going to get picked off. A couple more tripods are going to join the fray over here on the left-hand side. Massive one-click grabbing all of those Scorpion tanks. There's more here to follow as the EMP comes in. The EMPs are good, but it's only going to get 3 of the tripods. Phase coming out, saving 3 of those tripods. This is Futurama's game to lose. He's beginning to mop up these forces. Bike Rush is finally in trouble. Is he going to be able to turn things around? So many Scorpion tanks going down left and right. One click there for Bike Rush. Phase tripods marching their way in, looking for blood and going for the kills.
Yeah, that phase field was pinpoint perfect by Futurama. He phased both the EMP tripods, and the 2 at the back that weren't EMP'd, they did not get phased, so they were just firing non-stop while Bike Rush was firing at phased units, and yeah, Futurama is going to clean up that attack. I mean, it's not over just yet. The drone ship's forced to lift off. He has lost his third somewhat, but I mean, there's still so many tripods out, and this is a problem for Bike Rush because the tripods will swell to a force which will become so large that he won't be able to stop it. And look at this, Futurama is actually moving his drone ship. I think he's just going to go and push this third base and be like, well, if you want to kill me, you have to take out my army because the drone ship is with the army. He needs to make sure he gets rid of that EMP spike. Bike Rush has the EMP spike. That could be pretty devastating. It's still got about a minute left on it, so I think he's going to spot it here. He needs to make sure it's destroyed. He is going to get attacked from behind by these Scorp tanks, but I don't think he cares. I think he's just going to go all in at this point. Oh no, he's going to turn some of his tripods around, so needs to make sure he doesn't get caught out. And look at this, the man spam comes out from Bike Rush. He has no MCV, which means there's no infantry upgrades, and it's just 1 portal, and he's going to overrun the expansion as well.
Scorpion Tank's making their way into the old natural expansion, but once again, Futurama doesn't care too much. He is producing a healthy number of these disintegrators, which will be quite well into those units, but most importantly, Assault over on the right-hand side is definitely favor Futurama. Futurama can move his way in, and he's here for the economy. He's here for all of this, and he's going to grab it just as quickly. He does need that because he's about 2k behind. BikeRush finally moving his forces in. Plenty of meat shields here to absorb the shots for the tripods. This is exactly what you want to see, but it looks like BikeRush doesn't have the proper concave as he sort of just sends a couple of units in for their doom. Drone platform gonna get targeted, gonna get destroyed rather quickly. There's a portal there on the front line, but I think it might be too little too late. This could still go either way. No one click here yet to save Futurama. He's already spent them, and just so many Scorpion Tanks on the front line. More and more tripods join the fray. A couple of gunwalkers as well, but I'm not sure how much it's gonna matter as so many of these forces make their way in. Looks like the numbers are finally beginning to favor Futurama. Futurama taking kills left and right, but it still is anyone's game. It's still anyone's match. Black Head Squad's moving their way in as the assault just doesn't stop. It keeps coming. They're not going to stop hitting. There's the EMP there in the background, but it misses. That's not what BikeRush needs. BikeRush is in danger as he loses another harvester. The GG comes out, and finally, Futurama gets a point on the board. Are we going to witness a reverse sweep? Let's find out in the next round. Sorry to Green Zero's ears there.
No, that was actually a crazy engage there. Like Futurama, the read on that particular game there, because if he was out of position even for a second, he's dead, right? He's dead. And he actually held that attack. He brought the reinforcements in. BikeRush with the EMP, it was just too late, right? And it hit tripods with shields on, which did nothing. It just took the shields off, right? And yeah, surprisingly, Futurama is able to hold that, but yeah, the read that Futurama had to have his units in that particular position to push BikeRush's base, to kill the portal, which stops all the infantry production as well, and to shut him down at the end. I must admit, at that last fight, I wasn't too sure about Futurama. I was sitting there going, oh, I think he's going to get overrun here. Bike has a massive army, but yeah, he actually held his nerve. He actually got the damage in, and he destroyed almost the entire army, and then BikeRush has realized there's still like 8 tripods there with gunwalkers. He's not going to win from there, and he does close out that game. Yeah, fantastic game by Futurama. BikeRush, it looks like he was in control for a majority of that game there, but I think the defense at the start from Futurama was fantastic, only losing a ref and killing quite a few units. And then, yeah, the decisions in the late game, much better from Futurama. When he makes the good decisions, it shows he can definitely beat BikeRush.
And even though, I don't know if you've looked at the economy yet for that match, even though Futurama was behind on economy, those scouts really made a big difference, and his defense made a big difference. It's exactly what you want to see into Futurama, and hopefully we're going to see more of those strategies coming forward. Looks like our next map is picked, I think. No, that might just be Green Zero grabbing a map.
No, BikeRush has selected Undergrounds. He typed it in before you joined, so he's going to pick Underground. It's not a common pick from BikeRush, but maybe he's got plans.
So far, Futurama hasn't responded well to these rushes, and this is one of those maps where there's so little space in between both of the tib fields, so BikeRush can get a good rush out, and there is a lot of choke points for him to hold in order to stop the scouts from making their way in. Futurama would have to make his way all the way around to the north and hope that BikeRush doesn't have something in there to take them out. I feel like Black Hand would be pretty decent here, but it looks like BikeRush is not going to put a lot of stock into that. So far, his faction seems to be Nod, and Futurama, unless he changes it here in the last couple of minutes, it looks like it's going to be Nod into Scrin. It's once again going to boil down to scouting here for Futurama, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I think Bike is sticking to the nods because he wants to have access to laser capacitors. Very good against Scrin. We've seen, look at that SOCOM switch from Futurama. Will Bike respond to that? That's going to be interesting. Futurama has a 100% win rate on zone. No, he's not. He's going to stick with it. I'm going to have to change the scoreboard again, Koryak. He's going to actually do it. He's going to play Zocom. All right. That's updated. Okay, but yeah, like you were saying before, I think there's no way that Futurama doesn't scout Bike on this map. Like, this is the most dangerous map in the map pool for rushing. And as I say that, I just am thinking back to other games where a lot of people didn't scout. Like, it's just a death sentence to not scout in this game.
Indeed, it's definitely going to be critical, and this seems to be one of the maps that I think Zaz is actually telling me a little bit of insight on you, that you seem to really favor the air forces of GDI here, especially early on, and that those did have devastating effects for you in the Chrono Clash. Hopefully Futurama's been taking some notes for that, and maybe he's going to try the same thing here. We'll get to find out in a minute. However, Futurama does finally have his first point on the board.
And so here we are then on Tournament Underground's BikeRush's first map pick in the series. He will be playing as the Red Nod on the west side of Tournament Undergrounds.
Futurama sitting over here on the right-hand side of the map, still in a cyan, but making a change to Zocom. Futurama maybe knowing something we don't, cooking up something in the background, something that he has been doing a little bit more, especially when he's playing GDI. He's been able to push out a good number of infantry, and so maybe that's going to be his strategy. Infantry with a bit of Air Force could make a bit of difference, especially if you think BikeRush is going to go into a good chunk of Secret Tank Shadow teams actually out for BikeRush. Going to do a little bit of early harassment. Not going to get scouted because there's no pit bulls or anything like that ready for this at all, because this is super, super early on. Not sure if it's just the one Shadow team. Secret Shrine did sell itself off there in the background. I think it's just the one.
No, he's got the Shadow support powers. Oh my god, Futurama doesn't have his War Factory down. Are you for real? He needs to put it down right now. Oh my god, that was so close. BikeRush could have cut that off. He could have cut that off because he was... Futurama was slow on the placement there. Normally you should be able to have your War Factory down, but he was slow, but he still just manages to avoid absolute disaster, and he gets the War Factory down. Also, Futurama didn't go for the middle contested spike, which was a good choice because he would have lost his scout, his unit for sure. I don't believe he went for the top spike either, but yeah, oh my god, Koryak, that was so tight. We're going to see the Shadow teams now dance back in to try to take out more power plants.
Futurama's going to have a hard time keeping up in these power plants. We do finally get a pit bull out, which is going to see these forces, but it's not going to do a lot of damage to them sitting on the ground. Hopefully sets them up on some sort of patrol, because those Shadow teams are not going to let up. They're going to continue going for power plant after power plant, and that's going to continue to delay Futurama. Futurama, if you look at the economy, he's actually ahead on economy. Those GDI harvesters being slightly better than the Nod harvesters when it comes to resources, and hopefully Futurama can capitalize on that, but I don't think BikeRush is going to allow it, because that is the second power plant down for him, which is going to cost over time.
Yeah, I don't like that. He built the pitbull on the APC, then he sent the pitbull away from the base only to recall it, and yeah, he's going to lose yet another power plant here. You can't just keep losing power plants unopposed. BikeRush trying to duke out the cell as well. That is crazy. But Futurama doesn't buy it, but still, there's no watchtower, there's no APC here. Yeah, I just think it's a bit strange that Futurama's not defending as well as he should be against this particular type of rush.
Shadow teams do finally deploy in the sky. Pitbull actually missing the shot entirely. Maybe a little timing, maybe a little bit of an animation issue. As another Shadow team moves its way over into the south, Futurama's finally been able to build up a good number of harvesters. Another one cooking on the horizon, but he might lose another power plant. Power plant going down to half HP at the very least. One more is going to replace it. If we take a look at the economy, it looks like BikeRush is ahead. It's 3.9k to 3.4 so far.
Yeah, he's going to have to repair that power plant as well, otherwise that Shadow team will come back and finish it off. He's got 3 Shadow teams, so you need 2 to kill a power plant. The 2 squads in the north are coming back as well, and this is the thing, right? Like, Futurama's not able to deal with this. He's going to get another power plant easily because the placement is just bad. Like, you need to place them where they can be protected, but he's stuck it right out there, and he gets an easy kill. Oh, BikeRush screwing up. He actually got one of his squads run over then. Oh no, goes down to the pitbull, but still... you'd think that Futurama would be able to defend better against this. He's lost a few too many power plants for my liking. Oh, look at that. Loses a squad on the garrison.
At the very least, one of those are destroyed, like Green Zero was saying. Most importantly, while this has been going on in the background, Futurama hasn't been able to get too many scouts off on his opponent. He does manage to sneak one in the natural expansion, so he knows BikeRush is beginning to develop that. And he does know that there's a War Factory there on the front line, but he hasn't been able to keep an eye on the main base, and losing power plant for power plant's really making a difference. BikeRush has a 1k lead per minute on Futurama.
Yeah, you got to remember that BikeRush also holds that contested spike down the bottom, so it's 2 spike versus 1 spike. So BikeRush, after everything's been said and done, does come out with a little bit of an advantage. probably more than he should have, but still it's not too concerning for Futurama. Again, losing one of those shadow teams to the Garrison was pretty bad, but he still has the 2 squads, which means as long as he keeps these alive, he can still keep harassing the power plants. And I've seen games where people keep them alive for 10, 15, even 20-minute games, and they just end up dunking so much power over that period of time. It's difficult to defend against them, right? Because they're stealth, they're fast, and they can just move wherever they want. Bike Buggy will be pushed back for the time being by the Predator tanks we have here. I like the Preds. Rocket Squad's coming out as well, so Futurama making sure he's not going to die to any Bike Buggy harassment.
Shadow teams moving their way back into the natural expansion, probably looking for another power plant here in a minute as these Pred tanks move their way over there. And indeed, they're going to see their target and they're going to go for it and destroy yet another power plant. Futurama moving in on the Tiberium spike, going to try to tie up some of the economic disadvantages there. He's still about 1k behind. A couple of Shadow teams do finally go down on the right-hand side. It looks like at least one more squad going to get taken down. Futurama's defense just a little bit tighter, but those units have found so much value as Bike Rush moves Bike and Buggy into the northern section of the map.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. He didn't actually kill the power plant. He put it down to basically 0 HP. There must have been maybe a glitch of some sort, or maybe he pulled back before getting all the packs off. But yeah, the power plant actually survives. And this Bike Buggy, it's going to loop all the way around. But I mean, Futurama surely sees this. Yeah, he's got plenty of forces to withstand this attack. He took out this contested spike as well, so he's re-evened things back up a little bit. And I'm not sure, I believe Bike, is he getting the blue Tiberium? Yeah, I think he might be, yeah. Stealth Tank comes out. He's got to watch out. He might run straight into this army. Yeah, Stealth Tank's going to be really menacing and probably expect to maybe get some Zone Raiders out at some point.
They are going to get scouted there by the scan. Bike Rush has also moved an outpost over into his second natural expansion, maybe going for a more economic lead. Looks like Futurama's finally going the offensive, making his way into the natural expansion. There's plenty of forces here, and there's more reinforcements there in the background. Looks like we are going to get one upgrade there as the Harvester gets targeted and gets so close to going down. Futurama might be overcommitting, but the Harvester just needs one more shot. Pretty decent EMP there. Albus Goliath there for the defense. Harvester going down rather quickly. A couple of Shadow teams going to join the fray as well as this assault does begin to peter out. A couple more reinforcements are going to join the fray, though, however.
Yeah, no, I don't think that was intended to do a lot of damage for Futurama. It was just designed to poke the bear, just to have a look. Look at this. Bike Rush actually has an outpost in the top, so he's going to be on his third base. Stealth Tanks in the main. They will get a Harvester, but again, one is destroyed. And like you mentioned earlier, he saw those Stealth Tanks right at production, so as soon as Futurama sees that, he knows he's going to get hit by a lot of Stealth Tanks. So it's really good that they're not like sort of just rocking up on his front door. He's only finding out about them at the last minute. He's actually able to withstand them. Although Bike Buggy coming in from the right-hand side, it will start destroying Harvesters. These Rocket Harvesters not sufficient to defend themselves. He's going to have to move more forces over there. Here comes the one-click. Oh my god, his economy is going to get trashed. Harvesters are so badly damaged. He's going to lose all of his Harvesters on his expansion.
Futurama continuing his push over onto Bike Rush, trying to pressure him, but there are avatars out on the front line and plenty of man spam, as well as a disruptor tower. Obelisk of Light here for the defense. Things are not looking great for Futurama as he loses his natural expansion entirely. Those Tip Core rockets doing so much damage. Futurama tries to put the tempo back in his side, making his assault, marching his way on his opponent. There's the EMP. It is good. It's going to grab 4 of these forces. Obelisk of Light getting a couple more shots, as well as these avatars. Avatars marching their way on Futurama. Futurama is in a really bad spot here. He's running out of forces, he's running out of economy, and there it is. He's run out of the game, giving Bike Rush another point.
Yeah, I mean, he actually cleaned up all the Stealth Tanks, and the Stealth Tanks did very little, if any, damage at all, and he eventually shuts down the Bike Buggy, but I mean, look at his economy. He's got like 1 Harvester left, and I think that's why he gave up. If he still had enough Harvesters left, he could have kept fighting, because Bike Rush didn't have a third. Bike Rush had burned his 2 fields out, and he only had slowish units, but yeah, Futurama realizing it's like his economy was so badly shot that he really wasn't going to be able to get back into that game.
And it looks like throughout the whole match, Futurama was really only ahead of Bike Rush in economy for very short stints, and then just Bike Rush maintained that economic lead and was just able to throw units in, and still no real response there from the Shadow teams. Once again, Futurama's being a little slow to adapt to some of the cheekiness from Bike Rush. That's easy to say from the casting chair, but harder when you're actually fighting Bike Rush. But I do think that is where so far his mistakes have been.
Yeah, BikeRush, you can see he's comfortable enough to do these really high-risk strategies, and again, Futurama just not able to defend out efficiently enough, right? And I mean, he picked Zocom. I'm not entirely sure why he went that pick on this map. I guess he was trying to do that mass tier 1 type attack force, but it just wasn't going to work versus BikeRush there, and it's a little bit unfortunate. If he'd been able to defend against that one bike buggy attack, he would have actually probably been fine into the late game, right? Because that bike buggy attack at the end on the right-hand flank, there was nothing to stop it, and it destroyed all of his harvesters. And yeah, that sort of just ended the game right then and there.
BikeRush seeming to come into each one of these maps with a plan in mind each time, and then a backup plan in mind. Futurama seems to be, at least from my perspective, seems to be playing everything by feel. Which can work, but I think that boils down to scouting and adaptation, and not seeing those shadow teams is going to be really unfortunate because he's lost so much, and those shadow teams in BikeRush's hands can do a lot. And BikeRush, despite him being assaulted on his natural expansion, was able to move stealth tanks into the main, was able to move bike and buggy over into the natural. Futurama was never able to expand, and it was just constantly on his back foot. The tempo forever in BikeRush's favor, despite Futurama's best attempts to try and change it.
Yeah, Futurama going back to his map choice now. He's going to pick Toxicity, and I expect him fully to move away from Zocom. I just don't see him retaining the Zocom pick on this particular map here. I don't think it's going to work out for him, but yeah, it's a bit unfortunate. Bike again looking comfortable, but yeah, like you said before, Futurama is playing a little bit more reactively, and I think that's resulting in him being a little bit slower. I do like to see his scrin play, though. I think he is quite strong on his scrin, so I wouldn't mind if he switched to scrin vanilla or traveler on this particular map as well. I think he could do quite well, but we'll have to see what he's picking. He's still on Zocom, but I expect him to switch momentarily.
BikeRush happy to stick with Nod, and why not? It's been working out quite well for him overall. Haven't seen really any marked Kane whatsoever. It looks like he's just happy with that vanilla faction. Futurama still thinking what he's going to play on this map and play into BikeRush. Still no selection just quite yet.
Yeah, I think Mock has definitely dropped off a little bit with some of the recent patches, especially since the laser strat is really quite powerful these days because Scorp's got buffed for some reason. He's actually going to stick with Zocom. Okay, so we're going to have another Zocom versus Nod by the looks of things. Let me just make sure, yeah, the scoreboard is accurate and up to date.
Futurama making things a little bit easier on Green Zero, but maybe not himself. I don't know what he's thinking here with this Zocom pick. He hasn't gone for any rushes. It looks like he's tried to get a little bit more splattering of infantry units, which can work out quite well for Zocom, but he just hasn't been able to find his footing with really anything. His best chance really being those scrin, like Green Zero was saying.
But he is going to take us to Toxicity, and that means BikeRush will be starting on the west side, playing as the Nod Vanilla.
Over on the right-hand side of the map, his left glove is Cyan, and his right glove says Zocom. This is Futurama.
And yeah, like I was saying, very interesting faction selection. I would have expected Futurama to play one of his scrin factions on this map because every time he's picked it in the past, I'm fairly certain he has played scrin. I can remember quite a few scrin games on it, especially against the Nod. So we'll have to see what he has planned for this. Artillery, it can be important in the late game if you have the pushing in the bottom of the map, but it's not the be-all, end-all on this map. You can make other strategies work. I think Futurama wants to go for a lot of Tier 1, Tier 2, and just sort of control the map, have much larger armies, but just lower tech armies.
I feel like this map favors Nod a little bit more here into Zocom, because I feel like what GDI wants to do is they want to set up a foothold in some location, typically a contested location, and then just continue to eat up those resources, build up a good number of production, and that's just sort of how they destroy the game. They kind of siege out their opponent or just absolutely out-damage their opponent. And I suspect Futurama's probably going to be on his back foot a whole bunch, so I would have liked to see maybe more Steel Talons from him in these matches, which I feel like is a little bit better on defense with a couple of the options they have for them. But maybe he knows something we don't, and he's cooking up something there in the background.
Yeah, I mean, Steel Talon's very easy to defend out most types of rushes with. Zocom's still not too bad. The Rocket Harvesters, even though they're not particularly powerful, they can assist with defending out like bike attacks and things like that, as long as, you know, there's not too high numbers there. They're sort of just like a very basic support to any pitbulls that may be assisting with the defense. But yeah, we're going to see a straight up eco game so far. Looks like BikeRush is working on a ref, and Futurama also working on a... is that a ref? Let me have a look here. Yeah, it is. It's a ref as well. So straight up eco from both these players.
Something I'm surprised we haven't seen from the Zocom forces is we haven't seen any zone shatterers, which I feel like would have done well into the man spam, would have done well into the Scorpion tanks because of how tightly packed they end up being. So maybe that's his plan for later on. Maybe he just wasn't able to make it to there. Either way, we haven't seen any just quite yet.
Yeah, Shatterers are they used to be very situational, but you can use them in more situations in this day and age. But yeah, they're very, very good at cutting through a lot of tier 1, tier 2 spammy armies, like what Mike was doing in some of those other games where he just had like a billion Raider Buggy, Scorpion tank, and then infantry mixed in. Like Shatterers would have just carved a huge hole through that, but still... they are an expensive unit and you have to get them into position, but if you can do that, they can be quite powerful. Pitbull Scout comes in and it will spot the second War Factory, spots everything he needs to see, and he's going to lure the Raider Buggy over here. Maybe not quite. He's going to turn around and go back. But yeah, Futurama is going to spot this. Should be pretty comfortable. He has still pumped out half a dozen rocket squads because he is going for that blue Tiberium field as well.
More Pitbulls join the fray in the southern part of the center of the map. It looks like Futurama dropping a ping on his base for whatever reason. He is indeed going to go for the blue Tiberium. That can be a little bit of advantage that he can get his hands on, but Scorpion is going to move their way in just as quickly. A couple of rocket squads going to take a few shots off on the Raider Buggies, forcing the Raider Buggy out, almost destroying it entirely, giving Futurama that much needed time. It looks like it's going to be the transition into Predator tanks, and we have an armory here in the background probably working on those field suits.
Yeah, almost definitely. I think the ping before was because Futurama placed his refs bad, and now he is vulnerable to a one-click. BikeRush has not scouted that yet, so if BikeRush isn't planning on going one-clicks, he'll be okay. But if he does, he'll get both refs. But yeah, this is the same thing we saw from the last game. Basically, he's going to be doing a lot of tier 1 units. He does kill the Raider Buggy in the north as well, so that means that BikeRush won't be aware that that's happening. Small skirmish in the south there, but Futurama will be cleaned up. He got his blue tib though, right? So now he's backed off.
It looks like it is going to be mass Scorp span once again. BikeRush actually moving his MCV into the center of the map. Maybe going to try to rush Futurama with his base here in a minute. Futurama building up a good number of forces. Still no zone shatters or anything like that, but it looks like he's made a little bit of a change. He's got a couple of sniper teams in the mix as well. They aren't the reinforcement ones, but they will make a difference here in the fight. Scorpion is going to move their way in. MC going to get targeted. BikeRush might actually be in a little bit of danger if he's not careful as his forces begin to melt. Where are those Scorpion tanks? They need to move their way in sooner rather than later as the MCV does get targeted. Construction, there is the laser fence as more and more forces die left and right. BikeRush may have made his first mistake so far for this match. Might be in trouble. Scorpion tanks finally going to move their way in, dealing a bit of damage here and there, but will it be enough? Are they going to be able to save the MCV? A couple of Shredder turrets there on the front line as well. Should help more and more Shredder turrets here for the defense. We've seen BikeRush do this over and over and over, where he pushes out these Shredder turrets. Hand of nod there for the body block, but the construction going down about half HP. Scorpion tank's got to try to take out the Predator tanks over here in the southern section, and it looks like it might actually be favoring Futurama, despite the defender's advantage being in his opponent's favor. Yeah, construction yard going to get targeted. All the Scorpion tanks going to go down. Go ahead, Green Zero.
Yeah, I was going to say, with Nod Vanilla, he doesn't have any upgrades on the Shredder turrets, which means the infantry just didn't die from Futurama. And he's going to lose this MCV, right? He's gone for a tier 3. He does a massive cloaking field. Oh my god, he just killed so many infantry. And look at that. Futurama's going to back out. Also to note, he does have the defensive tower, which was firing the entire time. He's going to turn around. He's going to come back again. But I mean, realistically, that cloaking field just ended that push. I think he's going to have to back it up right now.
BikeRush being a little bit unorthodox, killing so many of those infantry, already having the answer to it. He was in a lot of danger, but he had the defense and was able to sneak an engineer inside that construction yard. That could have been really bad for him, but it looks like he's finally turned things around on Futurama. They are tied for economy in both total resources gathered and in resources per minute. That at the very least is working out for Futurama. I think Futurama may have been able to grab a little more blue Tiberium in the center. So I think it's going to boil down to economy and production, but BikeRush is going to continue, I think, this slow march into the center. First Avatar looks like it is out. Futurama being the first to expand into his natural expansion, so once again going for that economy.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 2 ref at the expansion. BikeRush is nowhere near his third base. He's trying to move the second MCV there now, but I mean, the entire push is stalled out. The MCV in the center is just still there. He has no infantry upgrades, and his tech center is in a hyper vulnerable situation here. So I'm not sure what... I mean, Futurama doesn't seem to be aware of it. He's actually in a pretty good spot. Destroys the bridge to stop the flank as well, because he's got so many more ground forces than what BikeRush has. But you can see he's just hanging back, and this is actually a mistake, right? He actually has a big advantage. He could move forward and put some serious pressure on BikeRush here to stop him from getting that third base down. BikeRush stands on the Tiberium with his MCV, slowing his expansion down even further. But Futurama is now starting to move out. I think he's caught on to the fact he's actually not in too bad a spot, and he can actually afford to move out and put some pressure on BikeRush.
Predator in the south, making their way into BikeRush's base. BikeRush finally getting the tempo pushed back on him. It does look like he's got the T3 in the background, which of course would make sense because he's got the avatars out and going. 4 Predator tanks so far uncontested. Only 2 or 3 rocket squads. Avatars finally here for the defense. That should be enough to hold off Futurama. Futurama has sort of overstayed his welcome, and if he leaves those units there, are going to have a bit of trouble. And actually, Futurama moving in here over in the northern section of the map. He's got rocket squads, he's got Predator tanks going for the old base of BikeRush. BikeRush putting obelisk light there in the front line to absorb some of these shots to destroy them, but he is going to lose some infrastructure for this fight. Predator tanks getting pushed out over there in the south. Futurama also getting pushed out in the north as well.
Yeah, stealth tanks come into the middle field, but immediately met by pit bulls, immediately met by rocket harvesters. He's yet to kill a harvester. He's lost 1 stealth tank. He's going to lose a second one. He might be able to get 1 harvester kill. Yeah, he gets 1 harvester kill, but the stealth tank harassment is shut down. And like you said, in the north, the ref was destroyed, which limits the ground control for BikeRush now. So Futurama, if he brings all of his forces into the center, maybe he can punch a hole. Maybe he can punch down that tier 3. But yeah, BikeRush, he's well established his third base now, so this could be an issue. I think Futurama is going to have to go for his tier 3. He's going to need at least his tier 3 for his Marv. And then, yeah, maybe Ceramic Armor Hammerheads. He's going for Zorkas at the moment. He got a very late AP ammo upgrade. 1 click comes down. It's not going to do much. 1 harvester, 1 ref. I mean, yeah, it's annoying, but it's not going to have a massive impact just yet. Futurama trying to bring all of his forces now to the center. And yeah, if he brings everything he's got to the center, he can just completely destroy that MCV that's still there.
Futurama having about a 5k lead on BikeRush for the majority of these last couple of minutes. Forces moving their way over in the north, killing a couple of these militant squads. It looks like it's only going to be Hand of Nod and plenty of cheap man spam. And if he's behind on economy, that may not be the worst idea, but Futurama just has so much armor. Futurama just has so many units all over the map. A good number of these rocket squads are going to go down to the militant squads. Looks like there's not a real answer to the man spam in the north at the very least. Is going to draw a couple of forces. Would be nice to see Futurama baiting out the forces for BikeRush in the north and maybe assaulting in the south.
Yeah, he's sort of just splitting his forces up everywhere. I don't like that. I think he should have coalesced his army to the center because he had 3 forces and they all went in different directions. 1 to the north, 1 to the south, and 1 backed up. So looks like more stealth tanks being destroyed or something being destroyed in the field there. But Futurama doing a really good job of defending out his base. But yeah, I just think he's got too many armies split up in too many areas. It looks like Vertigo Bombers might have been the culprits there. But yeah, BikeRush is now just sort of building momentum. He's going to start to build that tier 3 army. Finally gets the shrine down. So he's built so much infantry, but we've yet to see any upgrades. And yeah, Futurama, he's got a tier 3. He's got 2 MCVs. And he's got the Marv finally coming out. He really badly needs that.
Watchtower going to pop its way out. Watchtower going to go down. Sonic Emitter there on the front line, already taking down one of these avatars to half HP. Orcas doing so much damage to those avatars, but it looks like the Disruption Tower is going to save it just in time. Stealth Bomber's going for the Sonic Emitter, almost taking it down. At the very least, he's going to force a little bit of repair there on them. Does look like he maybe does get it right there. Sonic Emitter finally going down, a little bit of threat to deal with, but not for free, as one of them does get destroyed, and it looks like Disruption Towers take a little bit of damage. Futurama beginning his assault over here in the north, or over in the south. Redeemer making its way forward, popping off its Raging, killing so many of the Predator Trinks. That's not what he needs, but it doesn't matter. He's able to recover. Does he have the damage to punch through this unit? There's a couple of rocket squads here in the background, dealing more and more damage to these units. Mine drop there on the background, absorbing some of the shots there for Futurama. Futurama might actually be in a spot of trouble if he's not careful.
Yeah, again, just not coordinating his attacks. He's had a huge amount of units shooting at a Black Can squad in the north, and it's only just now starting to move forward. The Marv is out. He needs to make sure he gets that fully garrisoned before he sends it out too far. He's going to need that to help break this base head here. But again, I still like the infantry from Futurama because, again, he's up against Vanilla Nod, who's forcing him to go for his own man spam. But yeah, I think it's going to start to get messy pretty quickly. He's got double Engineer out for the Marv, double Zone Raider as well. But again, Futurama's just spent too much time split up all over the place. Has, again, defended his harvesters quite well. But, I mean, the Tib is running out. And this is going to be the point of the game where those more cost-effective units are going to start shining through.
Spectre tanks here to pad out the forces for Bike Rush in his MCV area, in his like little forward base here. Redeemer here out and ready to go. It looks like we do have all of the points for the Marv. Marv's got plenty of upgrades as Futurama begins his assault in the north, looking for some soft targets, but I don't think he's going to find it as a couple more stealth bombers make their way in, taking a little bit of damage here and there. Looks like one might go down, but there's plenty of avatars and plenty of forces here as Futurama is just slowly sending his units into their doom, sending them into the meat grinder while having a hard time dealing with the Redeemer here in the background. There's the Sonic Emitter, there's the Rage Gen, as well as the Marv moves its way forward. Redeemer going down about half HP. Will it be enough? The majority of these forces are going to kill themselves, unfortunately, there for him, as more and more forces die there. Pitbull's making their way over to the Harvesters, looking for something to snack on. Futurama still trying to grab a little bit of Blue Tiberium, try to close the gap, because Bike Rush did catch up in economy and is indeed ahead. So far, Bike Rush's forces are mainly tied up in the north, which gives Futurama this time to assault, while his Pitbulls destroy more units there in the south as well.
Yeah, we've seen about 7 or 8 Vertigo Bombers be destroyed in this game so far, which is quite a lot considering they haven't done that much, and those Pitbulls were just hunting them relentlessly. They now destroyed the air tower, so a lot of money down the drain there for Bike Rush. That's the only real big victory for Futurama thus far. Those Pitbulls do have mortars. They are actually shutting down most of the expansion, but they will be eventually cleaned up. The Marv is here, though. The Marv needs to make something happen. He's got his own MCV, needs to deploy that quick smart, but again, there's so many Spectre artillery here, and firing from within a base, this is the strongest you'll see Spectre artillery. That Sonic Emitter is in a good position. He needs an uplink, though. Where's his uplink? He needs an orbital strike. He needs a shockwave to come down to help break this. Without that, I can't see him stopping this force, right? Like, he needs an uplink, and he hasn't got one.
The big problem is also going to be a good number of these Shadow Team, or not Shadow Teams, these Spectres. The Spectres just doing so much damage and forcing the Marv out of the center of the map. Marv sitting at about half HP. Redeemer finally fully repaired. Bike Rush somehow able to turn that around, but I feel like Futurama's just wasted too many units. Looks like there's going to be a one-click there for Bike Rush. Futurama maybe overcommitting, needs to back up just a little bit. There's the Rage Gen forcing the Rifleman squads to destroy each other, and soon the barracks should go down as well.
Yeah, he was trying to catch the Marv with the Redemption ability, but unfortunately the Marv did back out. Futurama Redder. He's going to GG out. I don't think he's going to fight this. Is that going to be the end of the game? It is. He still had the Marv. I mean, technically, Bike Rush is out of Tib, and he doesn't have that many units left. I feel like Futurama might have tapped out a little bit too soon there.
Another point going to Bike Rush. Our score is currently 5-1. Definitely going to be a hard time. If I remember correctly, this is a best of 11. So there's at least another opportunity on the way for Futurama to turn things around, but it's going to be uphill either way.
Yeah, this is where the, well, it's not going to be a complete reverse sweep if he does it, but it'll be a hell of a comeback if he can do it from here. He's on match point, so, but like you said, that game there was too many wasted units, too many splitting. He kept splitting his armies up into such small groups. I'm like, all he needed to do was at one, and that's fine for harassment and sealing him in. But then when you want to move forward and punch a hole, you bring everything together because you can always retreat, right? And he just never did that. And he just, like Bike Rush was able to hold areas of the map he should not have been able to hold. He had insufficient forces to hold. But yeah, I feel that first attack, that first MCV push with that cloaking field really shut down Futurama. He got so much infantry with that one click. It was just crazy. Futurama
trying very hard to get the jump on Bike Rush. And like Green Zero was saying before, it's so hard to get the jump on Bike Rush. And so far, Futurama's only real times to do anything has just been able to outproduce him and go for those wins, getting the scouting left and right, not doing these assaults where he attacks left and right. Because on other players, that does really work where you can overwhelm them, but I don't think you're going to overwhelm Bike Rush. I just, like, unless he's just really off his game, you're just not going to overwhelm him. You're not going to get that jump on him.
Yeah, again, it's another game where Futurama, I felt, was in a really good spot, right? And, you know, he was doing everything he needed to do, and Bike Rush tried to do that base push against, with like, unupgraded Shredder turrets. He's got no upgrades on the Shredder turrets, and then Futurama had sniper teams there, which just deleted all the militant squads and all the infantry super quick. You know, and that tower, he had the defensive tower, which was just blasting down the base defenses from the back as well. It was a really good setup from Futurama, but then, yeah, just splitting his forces up way too much, not coalescing for any real solid attack. Yeah, I think Futurama, that was sort of his game to lose. He had 2 ref on his third base before Bike Rush was even at his third base, so he had such a lead there, and yeah, I think he wasted too many units. And like I said before, and what people are saying in the chat, where's the uplink? Like, you can't win that late game fight without it. Like, why is that not online? Like, he just hasn't built that, and I don't think he's built it once in any of the matches where he's played as a GDI faction.
Not that I've seen, which is a little surprising because there's a couple of times that Redeemer was just a little too far forward. And Bike Rush building his first Redeemer so far for the match. It looks like our map has been picked at the very least. But that being the first Redeemer, Bike Rush got out, and he got so much value out of that Rage Gen, forcing so many of those T1 units to destroy each other, destroying even more of the advantage for Futurama.
Yeah, just Bike Rush things. So he's gonna flick Scrin, which I'm definitely not. I think it's not too bad for him. Let me just update the scoreboard. I mean,
I feel like if you're gonna go ahead.
I was gonna say Futurama's had his opportunities to win games, right, and he just didn't make the right decision at that point in time. And it wasn't particularly difficult decisions he needed to make, but he just, maybe, I don't know, maybe he's afraid of Bike Rush and he doesn't have the confidence to go forward and push the advantage when he has it, but still, you know, he can still make something happen.
Not seeing any GDI factions on this map, despite I think them being really strong here on Tournament Highlands. So that's a little disappointing, but Futurama seems to be going back to his comfort pick, going back to what he's comfortable with, which of course is going to be Scrin. And he can irk out a victory, but it's going to boil down to where his losses goes. He needs to play solid, consistent, and he needs to scout Bike Rush. That's really what it's going to boil down to.
Yeah, it's going to be down.
Come back from an. Go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, it's going to come down to scouting those all-in laser pushes and things like that. If he can see them coming, he can beat them. But nonetheless, this is Futurama's choice, and his tournament life is on the line. This is the grand final. There are no more slip-ups from here playing on the east side of Tournament Highlands. As the vanilla screen, it is Futurama.
Over in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, it looks like Bike Rush in the red, playing the nod. Does Futurama have what it takes to take on the champion, who, of course, so far is BikeRushOwnz?
Yeah, I mean, it's like the Chrono Clash as well. Like, Bike Rush won the grand final there, and he was against No Haiv, or whatever his name is, and I felt that the scoreline could have been a lot closer there as well. This scoreline as well, if people are going to watch this later on, and if it ends up being a 6-1, people are going to think, oh, it's a Bike Rush whitewash, but watching the series, we haven't really seen Bike Rush dominate any particular game. He sort of just wins at the very end, just doing Bike Rushy things, right? Like, Futurama's not getting thrashed or anything like that. Futurama has been ahead multiple times in multiple games, so it's a very close series, but when it comes to getting the W, we've seen that Bike Rush just has that extra bit of edge that pushes him over the line and secures those victories.
That consistency definitely working in his favor over and over again. Bike Rush has said a couple of times recently that he feels like he's a little bit rusty. So maybe that's why he's going for some of these other strategies. But either way, him being rusty or not doesn't seem to really matter in either one of these tournaments. He has just such a phenomenal appearance, and he's doing what I normally expect to see from Futurama, because Futurama, normally when you assault him, he's just got such a solid, usually has such a solid defense. But BikeRush showing that he can find the flaws, he can find the holes in the armor of Futurama.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you just saw what happened there, but Futurama was running around the MCV with a buzzer swarm, trying to duke out that rifleman squad. And then BikeRush actually packed up the MCV, but just a second or so before he did that, Futurama backed off, and that resulted in the buzzer escaping. So just little mind games like that that allowed him to keep vision on BikeRush space for a little bit longer. Raider Buggy should come through. Not sure if he's going to be able to see that buzzer swarm. Pretty well hidden on that tip field. Yeah, he's going to spot that now. Probably got the health bars on. But yeah, like you said, BikeRush just managing to make the better decisions. He sees the battlefield. He sees, once he gets the scout on, he sees, all right, this is here, that's there, he's got this, he's got that. And then he just goes and makes the right decision. I want to fight in this position. I want to force him to do this. I know he's going to drop this support power. And yeah, he just reads the game. And it's up to Futurama to really, throw a spanner in the wrench, or throw a spanner in the cogs, or a wrench in, whatever the saying is, you know what I mean.
Looks like it's going to be Seeker Tanks so far for Futurama. Those have been pretty consistent so far. I think he's built 5 previously, so he did 1 less, maybe trying to go a little bit more in economy. And so far it's working out for him. He's got about a 1K lead resources total per minute, and he's got a 2K total resources gathered per minute. BikeRush going to catch a couple of these Seeker Tanks here, going to be able to take them out, and I'm not sure he was able to get really anything destroyed there, because it doesn't look like there's even a refinery in the national expansion for BikeRush.
Yeah, look, Futurama's pushing the blue harvester off the bottom field as well. Only got about 40% of a tank, which means this is a wasted run from that harvester. It's not going to get enough to warrant driving all the way out there, and it's going to end up with some pretty severe hull damage as well. He's either going to, and that's going to make it obviously harvest slow unless he repairs it. So yeah, that's a little bit of a win there for Futurama. Some of the Seekers in the top still survive, and they will back off. Futurama taking the top blue tib field. So in terms of the blue tib fight, Futurama's coming out ahead there. But again, BikeRush, I don't think he's that fast. He is pretty much, all right, I'm just going to sit down and just build my economy up, and then I'll go get you later on. I think he has spotted these Seekers in the top, though, because he's moving these tanks into position now.
But it might be a bit of a distraction, because if you're watching over in the south, it looks like there's a couple of disintegrators as well preparing for something. Seeker tanks should die here rather quickly. Hopefully they can buy some time for those descents. I feel like they need to be pathing a little more to the north, but maybe they're just trying to scout ahead of these disintegrators. I'm not sure. BikeRush has a real big answer to it. He does have a Raider buggy, which is finally going to make its way over to the south. 2 Raider buggies over here to the south, and it looks like this descent, I'm not going to call it a rush, but this descent engagement is going to die before it can even get started.
Oh my god, that target firing, he actually switched to all 3 Raider buggies, and he eventually gets none. That was a disaster. He started shooting at one, then moved to another, and then moved to a third. So we have 3 half-dead Raider buggies, which could have been, one or even 2 dead Raider buggies. So not sure what Futurama was doing there. He has got a tech center out. He's going for, I believe, he's got mechas out. So he's going to go for mechas this time, which can do okay if he can get enough of them, and he can keep the heads away from those Scorp tank cannons. He might be able to make it happen, especially with so many disintegrators. Like, the disintegrators shouldn't catch any of the vehicles, but they will buffer and cause him to fall back. I'm not sure where these gunwalkers, what they're doing up there.
Mecha getting caught in sort of a precarious spot. It's got to be careful here. It's got to be able to get a good number of these Raider buggies, but it needs to watch the damage to its head. There's no attack bikes. There's no rocket squads to do those shots directly to the face, but Scorpion tanks can do quite well at sniping those Mechapeds if not played correctly. Disintegrator's making their way over to the Tiberium Spike, going to take it down to about half HP. Looks like he's going for an economic lead, and so far that adds up because he's been trying to grab blue Tiberium after blue Tiberium. However, BikeRush grabbing his first real load of Tiberium in the south. Blue Tiberium, that is. Buzzer Squad making its way into BikeRush's base, going to scout the T2 at the very least.
Yeah, he's going to clean up more of these Raider buggies. He might actually clean up the rest of them here. It's going to be tight, but BikeRush did cloak 3 flame tanks. They're all on the bottom. He's now just splitting them up. So 2 down the bottom, 1 just waiting out front. There is a storm column there, though. That's going to be a problem because it's almost going to one-shot those flame tanks, and it's going to protect all the buildings around it. He might be able to sneak these 2 flame tanks around to get all the tech, and that would be a nightmare for Futurama. He's going for tripods now. He's got a mecha coming back. That mecha can respond pretty quickly to flame tanks, but yeah, he's going to spot the first. Oh no, the mecha just misses it. Yeah, look at this flame tank. No Seekers anywhere. So these flame tanks, Skoriak, they're going to get into the base, and if he loses the tier 2 and the tier 3, that will be an absolute disaster.
BikeRush going to see it on target. He's indeed going to go for the T3. T3 going down about half HP. Already getting destroyed. Refinery getting destroyed in the north as well. Futurama's not prepared for this whatsoever. T2 going to get targeted as well. These flame tanks are not done as they go for power plants left and right, killing a good number of these disintegrators. Disintegrators dying left and right. That storm calling doing absolutely nothing. Nothing to detect those units as the flame tank continues its assault, continues its destruction on the old main base.
Yeah, this is pretty bad. He got the tier 1 and the tier 2 and the tier 3, and again that flame tank at the top is still doing damage there. The Mecha Pete is trying to respond to it, but just remember it is stealth, so if this Buzzer Swarm does die, it's not going to actually, BikeRush is not even going to attempt to try to save that, I guess. I think he feels it's done its damage, he's not going to get it away, so all the flame tanks will be cleaned up. Now the economy is basically intact, however, we're looking at a tier 1 screen. And look at the beam. Oh my god, he's got so many beam cannons, Koryak, and here he comes.
Futurama not having the units here really to fight this. He's got to be really, really careful. Beam cannons should be able to focus down these units. There's the one click getting the majority of the beam cannons. Futurama may have been able to turn it around as the Predator, or as the Annihilator tripods make their way across the map. Waiting to destroy these beam cannons. This is going to be a costly mistake here for BikeRush. You cannot forget about that one click. It's so powerful, but the assault's not over, and there's plenty of beam cannons here in the background to deal plenty of damage. A couple of gunwalkers here to absorb the shots. Mecha Pete moving its way in. There it is. It's down. Beam cannon's going to get targeted. Beam cannon's going to get destroyed. This is not looking good for BikeRush. You can still go either way. However, there is a disruption tower down the front line, saving the majority of those beam cannons. More and more of these tripods going down, losing more and more HP. Futurama maybe forgetting there on the background, completely giving up on the center of the map.
Yeah, I'm not sure why he didn't try to destroy that disruption tower. He had plenty of time to destroy it with the tripods, and of course, as soon as the stasis wore off, all the beam cannons were just stealth, right? And they just backed out. There's no Seeker tanks there. Futurama is going to try to make a push now. Beam cannons instantly delete the one Mecha Pete. There is a sizable screen force here. It's going to depend if he can get rid of the infantry. Dev tanks coming in. This is a classic. This is an absolute classic Futurama move. He's got assimilators already ready to capture the tripods, but remember, he doesn't have phase. There's no phase. Oh, BikeRush is actually reclaiming tripods himself. This is crazy. He's taking tripods away from Futurama. Futurama force is starting to dwindle a little bit. He has some disintegrators flanking from the north, do a little bit of damage. He needs to start killing more of these beam cannons. If he can kill some of the beam cannons, he might be able to clean up the rest of the infantry, because the infantry themselves aren't particularly strong. There's not that much of them there, but yeah, look at that. All the tripods are down. This might be the end of the game. This might be BikeRush winning the extended series. Futurama is fighting to the death because he has no choice, and I think that's going to be it. His force is basically spent. His drone ship is back here, but Koryak, that's it. GG. BikeRushOwnz will win the extended series 2025, 6 games to 1 against Futurama.
Futurama just not having what it takes to take on the champ. BikeRush being one of these massive hills to climb, and losing that T3, losing that T2, just got rid of every hope he had for victory. He fought valiantly, but it didn't matter because those beam cannons destroyed the last little bit of tripods and the last lifeline for Futurama, making BikeRushOwnz the champion of not only the Chrono Clash, but also the IES Invitational.
Yeah, BikeRush showing that he still has it. He's still a force to be reckoned with here. And again, we've seen a lot of large cash prize tournaments in the past where he does end up bowing out at some stage. So this is going to be huge for him, winning 2 of them back-to-back, the Chrono Clash and the IES here. We see that Futurama did get about 10 grand more in that game. So again, Futurama, he played pretty well. If he hadn't have lost his tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, might have been a different story, because he would have had phase available to him, which would have been a huge deal. But yeah, the stasis, unfortunately, BikeRush was able to juke that and evade any critical damage from that. And yeah, unfortunately, Futurama tried to make it happen with dev tanks and gunwalkers. He did okay, but ultimately, BikeRush just showing that he is the one that deserves a victory here. And well done, right? Like I said, he just comes through at the end of every game with a better, more focused strategy, and he knows when to push that advantage.
Unfortunately, we didn't get to see more from Futurama. Would have loved to see that, but BikeRush just did not allow it to happen. Futurama only getting that 1 point on the board. A little upsetting, but I'm still excited to cast it. I'm still excited to watch the games either way. And like Green Zero was saying, Despite Bike Rush having such a lead, those numbers don't tell the whole story. Futurama really could have won a good number of those games. It was just small, little bitty mistakes here and there that Bike Rush capitalized on. Because losing that T3, losing that T2 are definitely critical mistakes, but there was just a tiny gap in the armor, and Bike Rush was able to get that stealth field, able to get those flame tanks in before anything can happen, and just absolutely capitalize on everything he can.
Yeah, I mean, you can't fault BikeRush. He really didn't make any notable mistakes in that series, and it was really up to Futurama to try to make something happen, which, again, Futurama, I felt he did play really well, and it's unfortunate the score was the way it was. It doesn't really reflect how the whole series went down, but yeah, just, again, not able to make it happen at the very end when it really mattered. But yeah, that's going to be it then. So Bike Rush will take home first prize. If we have a look at what that actually is, because it's been a while since I checked out what the prize pool was like. So that means, yeah, first place prize, $250 to Bike Rush, $175 to Futurama. So, I mean, I spread the prize money pretty evenly here. So you're going to see that basically, yeah, it's not a huge difference there. Third place will be 120, fourth place will be 75, and fifth and sixth equal place will be 40. So, what's going on here?
Either way, 2 tournaments in the background paying a lot of these top players. People making money off of Command & Conquer Kane's Wrath 15 years after launch is quite phenomenal. So thank you to everybody who's sponsored these tournaments, and thank you Green Zero so far for hosting this other tournament right next to the other one. So we've had so much Kane's Wrath content and so many Kane's Wrath games. I think most of the community is pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, when people come out and they see really good games being played, I mean, I don't think they're... Obviously, you've got fans of both players and all the other players and things like that, but people just want to see really good games, and that's what we got. We didn't really get any games where someone just collapsed or did something terrible. Everyone fought really well right to the end there, and yeah, obviously Futurama might be a little bit disappointed with that, but still, I don't think he should have continued with the Zocom picks. I don't think that's his strongest pick, especially into Bike Rush. Bike Rush just sort of is going to read that, I think. I think he should have stayed more Scrin, maybe put some Traveler in there, and play his GDI, right? Futurama, Scrin and GDI, I think that would have been the better picks for him. But yeah, that is going to be the International Extended Series 2025, all wrapped up. Bike Rush has done it. He's come through and he has defeated Futurama 6 games to 1. I really hope everyone enjoyed this tournament. It was my goal to get people to tune in regularly on a weekly basis, which is why the tournament was played out over a longer period of time. The Chrono Clash came in and just, yeah, really supercharged everything. So I'm sure there's going to be more tournaments coming in the near future. Maybe there'll be some collaboration between myself and other people. We'll get together to raise more prize money. Maybe get a drive sorted out where people can donate if they want. But yeah, correct. I'm probably looking, maybe trying to sort out something in the 2v2 realm. That's sort of something that's been missing so far. And I think your 2v2 is still a series where you have a lot of depth and strategy, but you just have it on a much, much larger scale.
It's a different game for sure. The maps are bigger and the fights are bigger as well. I'm always excited to do 2v2 content, and I was thinking actually the same thing, that we haven't had a lot of 2v2 content. Would be cool to get a tournament, or even just to do a bit of casting back and forward with just a good number of 2v2 games built up. I'd be happy to do either one, and I'm always happy to be a co-caster if you need one.
Yeah, definitely appreciate you coming along for the ride. Koryak was trying to secure someone for the grand final. Cybert was a little bit busy, but yeah, he's got a lot going on right now. But there will be plenty of Kane's Wrath, I'm sure, in the near future. So again, I appreciate you coming along and casting the grand final. And yeah, any final comments at all?
That's it for me. Happy to be here and happy to cast. Thank you so much once again for the invite. And thank you everyone to tuning in. Thank you to the communities and everyone supplying money to continue to keep Kane's Wrath going.
Yeah, I know it's good to see. So again, once again, thanks for joining the stream there, Korak, and I'll catch you next time. Okay.
Yeah, have a good one.
All right, and for everybody else that's still watching the stream, yeah, that is it. We are done and dusted. The extended series is completed. I will be looking to plan more things happening in the future. Again, I really want to push some type of 2v2 tournament. I think that would be fantastic. I'm sure there's going to be more 1v1 action. We've got a lot of the pros coming back. A lot of the pros are retraining up, so Bike Rush is going to have some more competition there. It should be good, but yeah. What more is there to say? That's the end of the tournament. BikeRush has done it. He's won the tournament. But yeah, terrific effort from everybody involved in assisting the tournament. Thanks to Manos, he donated half the cash prize. The rest of the cash prize was able to raise via other methods. And so, yeah, that's it. Thanks for joining the stream. Really appreciate it, you guys. Stay tuned on my YouTube channel. You're probably going to see more live streams coming up. If I can get some videos out, maybe I'll do that. Replays are available on Command Post. If you don't already have Command Post, you should have Command Post. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. My name's Green Zero, and that was your Kane's Wrath Invitational Extended Series 2025. The champion will be BikeRushOwnz. My name is Green Zero. I'll catch you all in the next video.
You